for Doug Emhoff. Do you remember about childcare? I don't know if
No, that wasn't as good.
you
That
don't.
wasn't as good. Not as white dudes for Harris. Their wives and
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 they're
uh, and their lovers are voting for me. That's perfect. Greg and Schomburg, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. To all of us who used to, but possibly still, look at the Drudge report every morning as our first source and get incredibly depressed at the way in which he's dragging Trump through the dirt and just casting aspersions. When you listened to Trump last night give that presentation and the timing that he had in it, that is a man that has got it together at age 78. And 78 is not old, folks. Trust me. That's all I got to say.
Thanks for the call. It's funny you mentioned Drudge. Gosh, I haven't looked at Drudge in a
I
long
haven't looked at
time. It
Drudge
just
in a
got sort of boring, um, MSNBC like boring, and it stopped being as useful a resource because it was so stilted in the anti-Trump direction. I mean, it was Drudge was always something that was, I mean, it's just an aggregator. So it was nice to have a place to go and you could get a cross section of a lot of articles and columns and so forth. It's not being so useful, and there are other aggregators like Real Clear Politics that are just as useful. In addition to doing a little legwork and just finding more outlets as they continue to populate the digital space. So it's funny. I haven't even thought about Drudge for a long time. I know he still gets a lot of traffic, and I know it's a website that's not going to go away. But certainly his influence has waned as he has become just another sort of inside the Beltway hysteric, hasn't it? All right, coming up at 5:38, there's a little bit more from the Al Smith dinner because there was a moment where Trump was
serious.
taking a shot or two, but in a very serious way, and it was nice to see. Actually, it's refreshing. It's part of the authenticity that I think punctuates Trump's appeal. 5:38.
Trump at his best last night. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
It's 5:31, 43 degrees. Israeli forces have killed the leader of Hamas.
Crowds gathered to cheer, celebrating the news of the death. Gaza. And drone video shows the final moments of Yahya Sinwar's life. Sinwar was the head of Hamas, considered a charismatic leader, and the mastermind of the despicable October 7th attack. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Sinwar's image of being a fearless military leader has been shattered. The U.S. State Department says while Sinwar was alive, he refused to release the rest of the hostages, prolonging this war.
Fox's Matt Finn in Tel Aviv this morning. Texas man's scheduled execution is on hold after his lawyers spent hours going back and forth with the state. Death row inmate Robert Roberson was set to be executed by lethal injection Thursday night for the death of his young daughter in 2002. Lawmakers later argued that junk science may have led to the conviction and called for Roberson's execution to be halted. Instagram is rolling out new features this morning aimed at protecting teens from sextortion scams. That's when scammers threaten that they'll share intimate photos of the user unless they get some kind of payment. Parent company Meta says one of the features expected is prohibiting the ability to screenshot or temporarily record images as well as photos sent or used via direct messaging. Chicago police officer is facing dismissal for shooting a man to death in Garfield Park last year. Officer Fernando Ruiz shot and killed Reginald Clay Jr. during a pursuit April 15th of 2023. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability recommended Ruiz be dismissed from the department over the incident. However, CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling disagreed with COPA's recommendation and proposed a 2-day suspension instead. Family members reacted during the hearing.
I want to thank y'all, man. You know what I mean? COPA, Chicago Police Board, you heard us. You felt our pain.
Chicago Police Board sided with COPA last night. Ruiz must now choose whether to take his case before the entire police board or pursue arbitration. A jury is set for the racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Democrat Michael Madigan. After 7 days, 8 women and 4 men were chosen yesterday to decide Madigan's fate. Court is aiming to add 2 alternates on Monday morning and then opening statements on Monday afternoon. Blackhawks got off to a fast start in a 4-2 win over San Jose at the UC last night in the home opener. Taylor Hall, Tyler Bertuzzi, and Nick Foligno lit the lamp early. Hawks host the Sabres tomorrow night. College football this weekend, Notre Dame and Georgia Tech tomorrow. Number 21 Fighting Illini will try to knock off the reigning college football national champions as they host number 22 Michigan. While Northwestern will get a winning streak going, they hope, when they host Wisconsin tomorrow. The news service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes. Ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Blue Star Security, Papa Nicholas Coffee, and by the Alpha Wealth Group.
If you have high blood pressure, listen to this story. Ira was given a grim diagnosis about his blood pressure. His doctor warned it's sky high. If he didn't get it down in 3 weeks, he was going to need surgery. So Ira began exercising, went on medication. But what seemed to be the miracle change, his diet. After thorough research and consulting with a nutritionist friend, Ira concocted a juice from foods that work like natural blood pressure medicines. 2 weeks later, his blood pressure dropped 30 points. What helped save Ira's life, amazed his doctor, is now available to you. Ira and his nutritionist founded 120 Life, a delicious juice and powdered mix with natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Try it yourself risk-free with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now, 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Jason Zenger, owner of Zenger's Industrial Supply and host of the Making Chips podcast, and a proud customer of Signature Bank. Through rapid growth, acquisitions of competitors, and taking over from the previous generation, Signature Bank was there with us every step of the way. Recently, the team introduced us to FinRails AP, their proprietary system for accounts payable automation. Not only did FinRails AP help us to reduce costs and create efficiencies, but it also helped minimize fraud risk. Now, our company can invest time into what we do best, supplying industrial products, metalworking tooling, contractor tools, and safety supplies to those who make, build, and create great things for our country.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Dennis Prager here. Join me on an unforgettable cruise to the Caribbean this November. Imagine 9 days basking in the sun, surrounded by the stunning beauty of a tropical paradise. We'll cruise in the vibrant islands of Half Moon Cay, Curacao, Bonaire, Aruba, and more. We'll be joined by special guest Sean McDowell, and we'll both be sharing insights into current events in a way I hope energizes and challenges you. Secure your spot before spaces run out by calling 855-565-5519 or online at PragerCruise.com.
Cybersecurity Awareness Month is still going strong, and LifeLock has a message about phishing. The scams cyber criminals use to trick victims into allowing access to their devices so they can steal your personal information. Being aware of potential phishing scams is one way to help protect your personal information. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft issues that arise. Start protecting your identity with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use my first name, Clay, as your promo promo code. Terms apply.
Longing for thick, healthy, gorgeous hair? Say goodbye to shedding, thin, and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume from New Nordic.
5:38. Let's get an update on the roads now. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update on the travel times is service of Trim Light Chicago. Don't let hanging holiday lights get you in a Scrooge mood. 'Tis the season. Save time, money, and energy with permanent, programmable holiday lighting for your home. Get your free quote today at trimlight-chicago.com. Bishop Ford, due to an earlier accident, inbound, you have tough sledding, 159th up through Sibley this morning. Northbound Route 53, hit and run accident being investigated, northbound 53 at Kirchhoff. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Nice day, plenty of sunshine. High 71, clear and 46 overnight. Tomorrow, warm, plenty of sunshine. High 73. Tomorrow night, a low of 50. Clear and 43 right now. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, talking about the Al Smith dinner last night. Trump was there. Kamala was not. Trump was happy to be there voluntarily.
It's a true pleasure to be with you this evening. Amazing pleasure. And these days, it's really a pleasure anywhere in New York without a subpoena for my appearance. Anytime I don't get a subpoena, I'm very happy.
There was takes place in New York.
Yeah.
Cardinal Dolan is essentially the chairman of the event. This raises money for Catholic Charities, which I know has come under appropriate scrutiny in the last couple of years because of its involvement in facilitating illegal immigration and resettlement of illegal immigrants in this country, and it's a problem. But everybody came together to raise upwards of $10 million for Catholic Charities. That's what Gaffigan said.
$10 million is pretty impressive. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, it could get you a studio apartment in Manhattan, which seems, expensive, especially considering you can get a mayor for 2 business class flights. Did I break I didn't think we had borders anymore.
Pretty good. It was interesting, just the New York-centric aspect of it, because, of course, a former New Yorker like Trump, who spent his most of his life and certainly business career there, sort of coming back home to a place that is generally hostile to him. Although, again, pollster Robert Cahaley tells me, it's not likely, but it's possible New York, the way things are trending right now, New York could be in play. And it's part because potentially, even having a conversation about it, which would have been thought impossible going into this cycle or any recent cycle, in part because of the performance of so many of the New York politicians that were present on that stage yesterday at the Al Smith dinner. It was interesting. Trump actually rallied to the defense of Eric Adams, even though they had a little fun with him and the indictments he's under. And then talked about one former mayor in particular, and it wasn't Bloomberg.
As I look around the dais, I see all of the usual suspects. For instance, Mayor Adams. I'd like to poke some fun at Eric, but I'm going to be nice. I just want to be nice because I know what it's like to be persecuted by the DOJ for speaking out against open borders. We were persecuted, Eric. I was persecuted, and so are you, Eric. The mayor's dietary restrictions are well known, but I've got to say I've never met a person who's a vegan who liked turkey so much. There's something about him with turkey. I just found that out today. I haven't been in New York that much. Don't let it, but you're going to win, Eric. We have another former New York City mayor with us, frankly, easily the worst in our history. And it's not Michael, that I can tell you. I'm surprised that Bill de Blasio was actually able to make it tonight, to be honest. He was a terrible mayor. I don't give a if this is comedy or not. He was a terrible mayor. He did a horrible job. That's not comedy, by the way, that's fact. But unlike the rest of New York, at least Bill doesn't have to worry about the criminals. They owe him big. He let them get away with a lot of stuff. Well, I'd better wrap up.
Is there anything better than putting it between the eyes of someone publicly to their face, the way that Trump is wont to do? I mean, I love that. That's not done nearly enough. All these phony pleasantries at events like this, and we pretend that, we're all part of the same theater troupe, playing different roles at different times, and there's this sort of fake comedy among all in attendance. And Trump, there's others to single out, and he was way too charitable to Chuck Schumer, who he's known for a long time and previously supported, unfortunately. But putting it between de Blasio's eyes, I love that.
I wanted them to cut to a reaction shot of de Blasio, but they didn't when he said that line, and just, as you said, put it between his eyes.
Probably stuffing his pockets with shrimp. He says something to go home and eat.
But I thought it was great, too, because he started out the night, his challenger wasn't there. So he had, in his, self-deprecating humor. What's the point?
Tradition holds that I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope. I've got nothing. There's nothing to say. I guess I just don't see the point of taking shots at myself when other people have been shooting at me for a hell of a long time, and they shoot.
And not just with jokes. So Kamala, in lieu of her presence there, did this video, and frankly, another tactical mistake by the Kamala campaign, I would suggest, because it's not only was it painful,
it's so bad,
but just the idea of sort of adding insult to injury. All of these big shots are there. Presidential candidate, the 80-year history of the dinner. And she's the one who sends the video. Better just to say I have a conflict and I can't make it. Yep. This just, frankly, gets people even more fired up. And Gaffigan's point, which was made humorously but is not a funny one, is that the Catholic vote does matter. It is a bellwether. It's a bellwether. It's 30% of the electorate in Pennsylvania. And, again, Biden narrowly won the Catholic vote in 2020. He won. I understand this ceteris paribus, holding all else equal, so you can slice up the electorate in a lot of different ways. But it's a sizable section of the electorate. It is obviously across the political spectrum. There's a lot of difference of opinion among self-identifying Catholics. But when you net it out, Biden wins narrowly, and he wins the election narrowly. Trump won the Catholic vote narrowly over Hillary in 2016, and he won. And right now, Trump, according to most recent polling I've seen, is up 5 among Catholics. And that's a problem for Kamala, particularly in Pennsylvania. So here's the video she did. And this is Molly Shannon reprising her Mary Catherine Gallagher character from Saturday Night Live. And Kamala trying to do the Abbott and Costello routine with Molly Shannon.
Your Eminence and distinguished guests, the Al Smith dinner provides a rare opportunity to set aside partisanship.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, what's going on? Who was that?
Oh, sorry, Mary Catherine Gallagher. Mary Catherine Gallagher. It's so nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, Mary Catherine. Right now I'm trying to record my speech for tonight's dinner.
Oh, yeah, I know. I just want to say that I'm Catholic, and tonight is one of the biggest dinners next to the Last Supper.
It is a very important dinner, and it's an important tradition that I'm so proud to be a part of.
Sometimes when I get nervous, I stick my fingers under my arms and I simmer them like that. But that's gross.
So tell me something. I'm giving a speech. Do you have some thoughts about what I might say tonight?
My feelings about what you should say tonight would be best expressed in a monologue from one of my favorite made-for-TV series.
Okay, let's hear it.
Don't you see, man? We need a woman to represent us. A woman brings more heart, more compassion. And think how smart she must be to become a top contender in a field dominated by men. It's time for a woman, bro. And with this woman, we can fly.
Gross.
What series was that from?
Oh, that's from House of Dragons, now streaming on HBO Max.
Is there anything that you think that maybe I shouldn't bring up tonight?
Well, don't lie. Thou shalt not bear false witness to thy neighbor.
Indeed, especially thy neighbor's election results.
Just so you know, there will be a fact checker there tonight.
Oh, that's great. Who?
Jesus. And maybe don't say anything negative about Catholics.
I would never do that, no matter where I was. That would be like criticizing Detroit in Detroit.
Does it bother you that Trump guy insults you all the time? Because it really bothers my friends and me.
Oh, Mary Catherine, it's very important to always remember you should never let anyone tell you who you are. You tell them who you are.
Haters gonna hate, hate, hate. Shake it off.
Shake it off.
Shake it off.
Shake it off. Good for you, Mary Catherine.
Oh, yeah, okay. And also remember one more thing. Don't worry if you make a mistake, 'cause Catholic people are very forgiving. Yeah, and also, one last thing I want to tell you. Don't forget to say, superstar!
Thank you, Mary Catherine.
Thank you, Mamala.
Thank you.
Mamala?
I mean,
So tone
it's
deaf.
really difficult to describe that video in the context of the audience, which I'm talking about the audience in attendance, how patronizing and moralizing and infantilizing that is. But those are the characteristics of how Kamala and so many on the left communicate, even to their own. I mean, the room sounded like it was pro-Trump, but it was decidedly divided. I mean, the idea that campaign staffers and the candidate conjure up that idea, watch that video, and think that that's something that will endear them or advance their flag among that crowd and the larger American audience that ultimately will see some of this as things make their rounds on social media. It's really sort of astounding to me. Jim Gaffigan, had this reaction after the video mercifully ended.
I don't even know what that noise you're making is. So, I don't know. As I watched that, I couldn't help but think of, now I know how my kids felt when I FaceTimed into a piano recital they were at.
Except it was even worse than that.
Oh, my God. Can I get to the child care buy? I think that this is funny. You don't think this is funny?
Well, yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, let people decide. 312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on the same line.
A major issue in this race is child care, and Kamala has put forward a concept of a plan. A lot of people don't like it. The only piece of advice I would have for her in the event that she wins would be not to let her husband, Doug, anywhere near the nannies. Just keep them away. That's a nasty one.
Okay, so he even admitted that was a nasty one, but I was shocked that he did it. That was good.
Boy.
Well, why do you? I mean, she's going to show
comedic sensibilities of some.
So if she showed up, I mean, we could have seen a different side of her, maybe a humorous side of her.
There is no humorous side of her. You just saw it. That's what constitutes the humorous side of her. Trump, just going back to his old buddy Chuck Schumer, who he was kibitzing with. And it's funny, too, to watch them. Trump and Schumer, they're kibitzing at the table before the event starts, and they're joking back and forth, and he's, punching him in the arm with a, how about that one, Chuck, kind of thing. Yeah. Boy, it's really very collegial for Chuck Schumer to be so friendly and warm to someone he believes will end the republic. The 21st century Führer.
Right.
These events give lie to all of that overheated rhetoric of the left.
Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? He looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
Yeah, that was good. That was nicely done. He also had the Trump an idea of how you could have gotten Kamala to the events, and she was unavailable.
But if you really wanted Vice President Harris to accept your invitation, I guess you should have told her the funds were going to bail out the looters and rioters in Minneapolis, and she would have been here, guaranteed she would have been here. Guaranteed. She would have been okay. She would have been okay with that.
Although the only issue is that some of those funds, given what Catholic Charities is doing these days, may go to people looting and rioting previously and prospectively. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I saw a Balance of Nature commercial. I said, I'm going to try this stuff out. So I got it. I'm going to take those capsules. And I'm going like, oh my goodness. I really truly believe that this stuff is really pretty remarkable.
I love this product. I really do. I think it's fantastic. I tell everybody that I think it's fantastic. So like I said, everything that they say on the TV about it is absolutely true.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
Cybersecurity Awareness Month is still going strong, and LifeLock has a message about phishing. The scams cyber criminals use to trick victims into allowing access to their devices so they can steal your personal information. Being aware of potential phishing scams is one way to help protect your personal information. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft issues that arise. Start protecting your identity with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use my first name, Clay, as your promo code. Terms apply.
Go with your gut. Your dog's immune system is based in the gut. A diet lacking in nutrients can cause itching, scratching, and a weak immune system. However, there is a solution. DINOVITE. Dinovite.
It took a grand total of 2 weeks. The dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Try Dinovite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dinovite.
Hello, my name is Gina. When I first found out that I was pregnant, I was in a very dark place. I was living out of my car or on the streets, working as a dancer at a nightclub, heavily into drugs and alcohol, and I didn't know how I was going to deal with having a child. You know, people look at someone living like I was and say, that's why we need abortion. I didn't need an abortion. What I needed was help. So Aid for Women helped me move into Heather's house. They gave me everything. A place to stay, clothes, food, a listening ear, help with my daughter, everything. To learn more about my story, watch my video, and support this great organization, go to helpaidforwomen.org. That's helpaidforwomen.org. You can help save lives and souls like mine from abortion today.
Aid for Women offers women real choice. They really do terrific pro-life work. please step up and support this great organization. Go to helpaidforwomen.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The only politician or elected official that may be more entertaining than Trump is Polk County, Florida Sheriff Grady Judd. He's done it again, and this press conference he had attended to a major human trafficking sting down in Polk County, Florida. We'll have that in our larger discussion about the border at 6:06.
But now let's head into the newsroom for news here at home and around the world. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike. Why are you wearing your Michigan hat?
Because they're going to beat Illinois tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. And Georgia Tech plays Notre Dame. Such a big game, they're going to have it at the Mercedes Dome in Atlanta.
Well, they should. CPD officer who shot and killed. There's a lot of Notre Dame fans in Atlanta. CPD officer who shot and killed a man in Garfield Park faces dismissal. And the future of the E2 nightclub and the disaster there debated. WIND, Chicago News Time.
He's still alive on Texas's death row. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, because just before Robert Roberson was going to get a lethal injection last night, the state Supreme Court blocked his execution.
He was shocked, to say the least. He praised God and he thanked his supporters.
Department of Criminal Justice spokesperson Amanda Fernandez. Those supporters questioned Roberson's guilt, including the lead investigator in the case, who says he was wrong and no longer believes Roberson murdered his 2-year-old child by shaking her in 2002. A group of state lawmakers in Texas, Republicans and Democrats, pushed for the case to be re-examined. The U.S. is urging Israel's prime minister to end the war in Gaza to free the hostages after an Israeli military raid killed Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind of the October 7th attack. But Benjamin Netanyahu says the war must go on, delivering this message to residents of Gaza. We hear in a translation.
Sinwar ruined your lives. We told you he was a lion, but in reality, he hid in a dark tunnel, and he was killed when he ran away in fear from our soldiers.
President Biden is in Germany for talks with our NATO ally on further helping Ukraine battle Russia's invasion. In the race for the White House, some comedy.
Really a pleasure anywhere in New York without a subpoena for my appearance.
Former President Trump told several jokes as is tradition at the Al Smith Catholic Charities dinner that most presidential candidates attend. Vice President Harris did not, instead campaigning in Wisconsin, but Harris did send in a video featuring Saturday Night Live alum Molly Shannon reprising her Catholic schoolgirl role.
Just so you know, there will be a fact checker there tonight.
Oh, that's great. Who?
Jesus. And maybe don't say anything negative about Catholics.
I would never do that, no matter where I was. That would be like criticizing Detroit in Detroit.
A jab at Trump's criticism of the city when campaigning there. America's listening to Fox News.
43 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A Chicago police officer is facing dismissal after shooting a man to death in Garfield Park last year. Officer Fernando Ruiz shot and killed Reginald Clay Jr. during a pursuit back on April 15th of 2023. However, the police board president during the hearing made a critical distinction.
It is important to note that this ruling does not mean that the accused officer is currently being found guilty of the alleged misconduct.
COPA recommended Ruiz be dismissed from the department. However, CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling disagreed and proposed a 2-day suspension instead. Family members reacted during the hearing.
I want to thank y'all, man. You know what I mean? COPA, Chicago Police Board, you heard us. You felt our pain.
Ruiz must now choose whether to take his case before the entire police board or pursue arbitration. The public weighed in Thursday on the future of the E2 nightclub site where 21 were killed back in 2003. The Commission on Chicago Landmarks is working to determine if the E2 Club, the building that it was in, remain or be torn down. Landmarks Commissioner Howard Brookins Jr. says there's some major problems with that building.
Mr. Schifrin runs out, hires a qualified demolition company, signs a contract to the tune of over $100,000. submits a deposit of more than $36,000 in order to comply with this notice.
The building has sat vacant since and is part of the historical Motor Row National Register District. And investor Randy Schifrin, as you heard, bought that property in 2021, wants to tear it down to build a 21-story affordable senior housing development over the objections of some of the Landmarks Commission.
Historical? Please. You got a big glass front. You got a little terracotta. You want the terracotta? Take it. But give me a break. This is not an historic building. I hate to say it. Please forgive me. This was a graveyard.
The Landmark Commission will make an official vote on the demolition permit at their next meeting on the 7th of November. It took firefighters 4 hours to get a 3-alarm blaze at a cabinet factory under control yesterday. New Lenox Fire Protection District Chief Adam Rigo said the contents provided challenges.
Unfortunately, the area the fire was in was what we'd call a pole barn, basically wood and metal. That building all got consumed and collapsed down on it, which caused more problems by having the metal over top of the fire.
All 70 employees evacuated after hearing the fire alarm sounding safely. Owner Joe Wilde is unsure of the future of the company. Blackhawks got off to a fast start during a 4-2 win over San Jose at the UC. Hawks host the Sabres tomorrow night. Hawks winning last night 4-2. Bulls wrap up preseason play with a home game against Cleveland at the UC tonight. The news a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify. AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Dennis Prager Show.
Israel doesn't want to wipe anybody out. The charge of genocide against Israel is as big a lie as men give birth, and it's made by the same people. But when you hide among civilians, what is... and then try to exterminate a state. What is the state that is the target of extermination supposed to do?
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The instability of our economy after this election has many worried, and stocks and bonds could be the first to collapse. Countless Americans are turning to the safest store of wealth in human history to protect their retirement accounts. Physical precious metals. Gold has been a safe haven asset for generations. At Premier Gold, we specialize in helping those with a 401k, IRA, or other types of retirement accounts convert their vulnerable paper assets into physical gold to protect their hard-earned savings. Today, we'd like to send you a free gold election kit to help you decide if this is right for you. Call 606-800-8000 to claim yours. Act before the election to take advantage of the current rollover policies, allowing for a quick and seamless transfer into physical gold or silver. Don't let the outcome of this election influence the fate of your financial future. Call 606-800-8000 now. Premier Gold is not a financial advisor. Please consult with your advisor before investing. Call 606-800-8000.
6:08. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is the service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Kennedy inbound 31, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Dan Ryan 16, 95th into the circle. Delays as you begin your trip this morning on the On the Eisenhower, we're checking in now between Harlem and Ridgeland, seeing brake lights, and 26 into the old post office. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Lots of sun, nice day. High today 71, clear tonight, low 46. Sunny, warm day tomorrow, the high at 73. And then Sunday, sunshine, a very warm day, the high 76. Monday, sunny and warm, and the high at 80. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
43 degrees. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Elon Musk was dispatched to Pennsylvania to host a town hall, take questions from the audience. This is his riff on the border and the need for border security.
I always want to try to figure out what is the truth of the matter, what's really going on. So on the border situation, it's like, is it real or is it not real? So I went there in person and I just literally live streamed what I saw. And our border looks like World War Z. Okay, it's like zombie apocalypse. It's insane. So this is, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. Yeah, I mean, we're just saying, like, we have to have real borders, or if you don't have real borders, you don't have a real country. And obviously, as someone who's an immigrant, I'm pro-immigrant. I just want to make sure that people who come here are going to be assets to society, and that they're going to raise our standard of living.
Right, the sensible position that reasonable people take, and then they get vilified and demagogued by Kamala Harris and these rapacious open borders types. Such an instance of what Musk is talking about, people coming to this country that do not enhance our security of life, that are not adding to the bottom line, and that have bad intentions or are the victims of people with bad intentions, because it's a lot of things. Polk County, Florida, America's Sheriff Grady Judd yesterday announced 157 arrests in a human trafficking operation done by his department, I assume in conjunction with other law enforcement agencies. That's a big sting for a relatively small county county sheriff's office. 157 arrests. And here's Grady Judd commenting on said sting and those arrests.
First, I want you to see this chart. 25 illegal immigrants were arrested in this operation. They were from Venezuela, Cuba, Colombia, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico. 16% of these total arrests were people who should not even have been in this country, but they were here. And they were here because we have a federal government that enabled these criminals to come into the country and then treated them very well after the criminals came here illegally. So let me share a story with you, and then I'm going to read a quote for you and then let you see a video. The prostitutes that came here, several of them had to pay off a coyote debt. Some of them said, hey, we did it because it was easy money. Others said, well, we came here and we were illegal and we couldn't get employment, so we turned to prostitution. Some of them said, we were threatened and our family was threatened if we did not prostitute for the coyotes or for the human traffickers. So I'm going to tell you one story about one of our suspects, Maria, and that's not her real name.
And we'll hear Maria's letter in a second, but just focus on those who are, as Grady Judd described, under threat, indebted to a coyote, under threat, their family under threat, and forced into a life of prostitution. And what does Kamala have to say to them? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what you and your family have experienced. Like she said on the Brett Baier interview when she was asked to comment on Jocelyn Nongare's accusation of the Biden and Harris administration being responsible for her 12-year-old daughter being murdered by someone in this country illegally and left in a creek near their home. That's what happened. So sorry. So sorry. So sorry, not sorry from Kamala Harris. That's what you get. So just remembering who is really on the side of the righteous here. It's always the Emma Lazarus caricature that is advanced by people like Kamala Harris, and she is, and others like her are standing up for the downtrodden and the strivers from across the world that are fleeing persecution or seeking a better life. And in point of fact, listen to Grady Judd talk about the number of people that are being exploited and compelled to engage in illegal and exploitive behavior under threat of physical violence. That's the side Kamala Harris is on. That's the side everybody's on who believes in open borders. The letter from Maria, and by the way, the federal government is complicit in all this. Of course, this regime, the federal government is complicit in all this by incentivizing it. And this is the letter from Maria.
When I passed through immigration, they sat me down and explained to me all the benefits I was eligible for. I was told I could apply for government assistance. I could apply for health medical insurance for my son, and I could apply for food assistance. After I finished talking to immigration, a short time passed until a DNA test was done on me and my son to prove that he was my son. Then they set me down with other people who were also waiting and had already qualified to be released. Then they explained to us that the documents we had in our hands were our personal identification in the United States, and we could use the documents to travel on buses and airplanes. They also explained to us that we could use those documents to apply for our documents to become legal here. And after that, they explained all of the benefits. They said, "Welcome to the United States of North America." And from there, they transported us to a refugee camp.
It happened in one day. One day. She's here illegally. She gets the flight to Chicago. Things don't work out in Chicago, so she goes down to Florida. And she's filled out all this paperwork for all of these benefits, including the privilege, hardly a right, the privilege of travel paid for.
Right. We paid for her flight or her bus trip down to Florida, by the way, from Chicago.
And then she winds up getting caught up in this human trafficking sting, which, by the way, of course, included an employee from Disney World.
Well, and that part is the best part.
What would any of our undercover operations be where we're dealing with human trafficking, prostitution, child predators without Disney? We always arrest Disney employees.
And then he went on to, he explained each person and what they did at Disney. One was a janitor, and one was married.
That's previous. That's a previous sting that netted Disney employees, because, as he always said, like every one of these stings, you have Disney employees. I mean, this guy is, and this guy's plain spoken, and there's a lot of tough talk. I mean, he's the same guy who said, if you kill a policeman, it means no arrest, no Miranda rights, no negotiations, nothing but as many bullets as we can shoot into you, period. So that's Grady Judd. So you get the disposition. But in terms of just laying out the case of what the real world implications are of this lawlessness at the border, I thought, and describing the different sorts of people that are caught up in this human trafficking, some doing it because they're lazy and amoral and think prostitution needs easy money, as he said, and others being exploited and victimized themselves. Dawn in Batavia, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan.
Morning.
I am concerned with respect to the open southern border that the message that I have tried to impress upon you in the past, that the Roman Catholic Pope and the USCCB, the bishops, have insisted for the last century that all of the Latin America be allowed to flow in uninhibited into the United States, in addition to those that came from Europe. Unless that is addressed, there is going to be open borders, because it's your own church that insisted that all of these people be allowed in. I want you to address that.
In fact, I just did address it when we were talking about the Al Smith dinner raising money for Catholic charities. Did you hear that part? No, probably not.
I heard.
Thanks for the call, Don. It's tiresome. I mean, this Sally one notes. I am opposed to open borders. I'm opposed to Catholic charities serving as an NGO to facilitate people coming to this country illegally, resettling them illegally.
And they're almost hiding them too. When people try to at O'Hare Airport, when they're shuffling people around these Catholic-sponsored NGOs, and they run from reporters as if and hiding children. It's like, what are you really doing? Where's the transparency?
Okay, first of all, it's not just Catholic charities and Catholic NGOs. That's number one. Number two, it hasn't been 100 years, and it hasn't been always the position of the papacy to be de facto for open borders. John Paul II certainly wasn't. Dawn. So, I mean, the over the top. I mean, I understand Dawn, basically, my read on Dawn is she's just sort of an anti-Catholic bigot, which is why, the Sally one note and the over-the-top accusations that are not reflective of the actual historical record. And also the suggestion that the Catholic Church, the implication is that somehow the Catholic Church controls the federal government. And it doesn't. And it shouldn't. And it won't under President Trump, as we saw the first term of President Trump, didn't we, Dawn? So, yes, the Catholic Church and Catholic charities are wrong to participate in the facilitation of the lawlessness that has occurred at the open border, at our border, and all of the resultant exploitation and death. Right. It is sentimental barbarism, a phrase I use often and have defined previously. I won't go into it again here. It is the hallmark of the social justice Catholic, which is the cafeteria Catholic, which is the non-Catholic, as far as I'm concerned. But to suggest that all of this resides with the church, and if you just got Catholic charities out of this business and you had a different pope, then the issue would be remedied. It wouldn't be remedied. We have not been serious about a framework for combating illegal immigration and providing for legal immigration in certainly my lifetime. Now, a framework for enforcing the law and preventing illegal immigration was advanced significantly by Trump, and in addition to him personally, because he had good personality, good administrators like Tom Homan and Mark Morgan and others. But to suggest that we can have this border discussion and it's one institution or one policy or one politician is complete folly. Corey in Woodlawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. Good morning, Amy. I was afraid to say it. This is what Calhoun was talking about. The federal government is creating actions that are against our Constitution. And it's time to start nullifying the actions of the federal government. Whatever they're doing, it is not in alignment with the Constitution nor the sentiments of their constituents. I don't understand it at all. But these corporations are getting away with murder because you never hear them argue to get the people in the country that have taken a test, the ones that are standing in line. I hear the line is like 7 years to become a U.S. citizen, but those guys have went through some type of channels to try to authenticate themselves, and they're taking tests. We're not even trying to get those ones that's waiting in the pipeline in. We're just going straight for the illegals. This doesn't make any sense.
I agree. Thanks for the call, Corey.
People wait years and spend thousands of dollars, Dan, on attorneys to become American citizens. And they just walk through, and she described she got all that done in one day, which took my friend 7 years to accomplish.
Well, the other problem is as long as this administration and politicians like it are in power, we're going to have the programs that have fostered this lawlessness expanded. DHS announcing it will give temporary protected status to any Lebanese nationals who are in the U.S. as of yesterday. The TPS status will last for 18 months and it will allow recipients to apply to work. DHS says it will, the Homeland Security says it will allow any individuals having no nationality who last habitually resided in Lebanon to apply for temporary protected status as well because of the war in the Middle East, ostensibly. Yeah, well, you know, the question about, just like we see with temporary protected status for Haitians in particular, that has become an issue in particular communities like Springfield, Ohio, Charleroi, Pennsylvania, and so forth. You know, these programs that are supposed to provide sensible protection for people fleeing political or religious persecution, just because that's the stated objective doesn't mean that's how it operates in practice. As we've seen in a lot of cases, the temporary protected status is about as temporary as government programs, which is to say not temporary. And that's a problem. That's a corruption of the program. In addition to the vetting that's required, or should be, to determine a true threat of political or religious persecution that this person is facing, because if it's just for a better life, then that, you know, economic reasons effectively, that is not a legitimate application for asylum under this program, or generally speaking. And all of these interests get conflated. And the vetting, as we just talked about yesterday, what they say they're doing and what they're actually doing are repeatedly different things. For example, the Afghan national who is a CIA contractor, right, who was under arrest for a terrorist plot that was planned for Election Day, and he was supposed to be vetted by the State Department and given special immigrant visa status. None of that happened. None of it happened.
It's going to be an ISIS-style attack.
He was just allowed to come and stay. Yep. Roger, Southside.
Morning, both of you. You don't have to hold your finger on the dump button. I mean, nice today. You know, and it's weird. It's weird that you know, all the people who were convicted in Silver Shovel and all the crimes that we've had here just locally in Chicago over the last 30 years. Okay, if they were convicted under a federal felony, okay, most likely lost their voting rights, for sure, their firearm rights. Okay, so some still can't vote, yet we're letting people in like this. I truly hope, if we get a change in administration, Chicago is going to get what has been begging for 30 years, and that is to be drowned. You know, because it's, you know, it's like every day you see, they can't get worse every day, but they do. It's just a pure sickness of, you know, what you see in all these, you know, major Democratic blue cities.
Thanks for the call, Roger. Well, I'll tell you what, if Trump wins and Republicans retain the House and garner the Senate, all of which I think is going to happen, they have a mandate. Fox News out yesterday with a poll, 2/3 of voters support mass deportations of illegal immigrants. That's up 15 points since 2015, up 15 points over the last decade. And almost every demographic, including Democrats, has seen a movement in the direction of support. Obviously, there's different levels, but over the net is 2/3 of the country. That's a mandate. And if it comes to pass that Trump and Republicans are given the executive and legislative branches, they better live up.
Act on it. Yep.
Yeah, they better live up to that mandate.
Well, at least with those 425,000 known criminals who are rapists and murderers, I mean, convicted, not just accused. I don't even know how the heck they got in here in the first place, but obviously we know their criminal past, so hopefully we know where they live and we can start with them.
Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
My husband's a retired cop, and I worked in a hospital for years. I'm going out right now because I'm getting ready to paint my fence. It's just literally amazing. And, you watch the TV articles and you go, yeah. Well, at least it's 100% returnable if it doesn't work. I'm not kidding you. It is the most amazing product I've ever taken.
I love it. I love the product. And not only the product, the people that work for them, too, are really nice. That's another plus. It's the best product on the market.
I think it's a good product, so that's the reason I'll continue to take it.
It's a wonderful product. I'm trying to get as many people as I can to take it.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
Dan Proft here for Northridge Prep. Northridge Prep is a great place to be a boy. What does that mean exactly? In short, it's thanks to a foundation of an all-boys environment that builds your son up into a man of intellect and character who loves God. The teachers and faculty members have become mentors to students. And when you combine that with an atmosphere that's fun, competitive, and challenging, it creates an exceptional experience for your son. The result is the boys just love Northridge. They've been educating boys for nearly 50 years, and one of the things that stands out is their commitment to partnering with parents. You hear this a lot with schools, but at Northridge, the parents can't stop talking about it because it's real, and they've built a community that really works together. Raising kids is difficult, and at Northridge, you can be confident your son is on the right path. They're having an open house this Sunday, October 20th, for boys in grades 6 through 12. You can register today at northridgeprep.org. Again, the open house is this coming Sunday, the 20th, and you can register online at northridgeprep.org.
Cybersecurity Awareness Month is still going strong, and LifeLock has a message about phishing. The scams cyber criminals use to trick victims into allowing access to their devices so they can steal your personal information. Being aware of potential phishing scams is one way to help protect your personal information. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft issues that arise. Start protecting your identity with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use my first name, Clay, as your promo code. Terms apply.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
So, Dan, I have a question for you. Are you growing your hair out until the election? Because didn't you do that a few years ago? Remember, you wouldn't cut your hair until after the election?
No, I don't know. No, but no, the election date is not. That has nothing to do with my hair.
Okay.
There's nothing magical about that date.
Locks of love.
With
are you
respect
growing
to my
your
hair.
Yeah, but okay, but maybe for locks of love, are you growing your hair for that?
No, I'm just. I don't know. I'm hoping to get in on a Doobie Brothers biopic.
Okay. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
All right, you've heard the Turnkey name for years here at AM 560. Maybe you've thought that you don't need help because you, quote, made it this far with your network. Have you grown your business or acquired other businesses? Do you have more than one network that you've hobbled together? Maybe your sales team has grown or your client base, or your network is old and outdated, holding your business back from its full potential. Well, guess what? All of these reasons can leave your business open for security breaches, stop production, compromise sales, and cost you thousands of dollars, folks. It happens every day. So don't leave it up to the hourly IT manager that comes in when he's available. Turnkey understands the importance of having a network you can count on. For the price of a monthly car payment, that's it. Turnkey will fully protect your network with the most secure, up-to-date cyber protection, unlimited backup, unlimited 24/7 help desk support, and real-time threat hunting, all by world-class technicians who really care, about helping people. I'm getting emotional here. Protect your small business today. Visit turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro, the champions of small business, turnkey.pro.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, wow, look at the time. Coming up at on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, a good thing Bibi didn't listen to Kamala and not go into Rafah. We'll start there with Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, Cliff May at 6:36.
But now let's go back into that newsroom. Michigan man Mike Scott.
6:33, 43 degrees. Israeli forces have killed the leader of Hamas. Officials say Yahya Sinwar died during heavy fighting Wednesday in Gaza. David Menser is a spokesman for the Israeli government and joined Fox's special report.
The Prime Minister said that the mission's not over until we get our people home. We're fighting to bring every single one of them home. Hamas would do well to heed the Prime Minister's offer to let our people go in return for their lives. He's never said that in public before.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is calling on Hamas to surrender and release the hostages. Health officials this morning reminding Floridians stay out of the floodwaters as cases of flesh-eating bacteria are on the rise. Pinellas County leading the state with infections with 13. The state health department says there are at least 70 cases statewide and 11 deaths tied to the deadly bacteria across 24 counties. A Texas man's scheduled execution is on hold after his lawyers spent hours going back and forth with the state. Baseball fans expressing outrage this morning after live coverage of the Major League playoffs on Hulu was interrupted by outages.
Downdetector.com reported more than 80 night during Game 4 of the National League Championship Series between the Mets and the Dodgers. New York and L.A. were tied going into the second inning when Hulu started crashing, and users say it didn't come back until the fourth inning. Angry customers started flooding Hulu's X account, demanding the issue be fixed. The live stream crash came on the same day that Hulu increased the price of its bundle. I'm Michael Kastner.
The FAA this morning is investigating after an American Airlines flight suffered engine damage after landing in Chicago. The flight arriving at O'Hare from Heathrow Airport in London. All passengers and crew safely exited that plane. An inmate seriously hurt after falling down a flight of stairs at the McHenry County Jail. It happened yesterday morning. No other inmates or corrections officers were near the individual when the fall happened. The Delphi, Indiana double murder trial of Richard Allen scheduled to finally begin today for the 2017 murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. And one person recovering following a fire on Chicago's northwest side. Police say the blaze broke out last night on the back porch of an apartment building in the 2000 block of North Sawyer. Blackhawks off to a fast start and a 4-2 win over San Jose at the United Center. Hawks host the Sabres tomorrow night. Chicago Fire wrap up their 2024 campaign when they host Nashville at Soldier Field tomorrow with new head coach Greg Berhalter. The news, a service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high quality and professional level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Valdecas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Willows Academy, Senior Helpers of Naperville, and by the Illinois Family Institute.
$20 million. No, it's not the national debt. It's the buying spree that Fox Valley Coins is on from now until Thanksgiving. It's really the perfect storm. Gold and silver are at historic levels. Fox Valley Coins has a huge order to fill with one of their national clients. And September through Thanksgiving is always when coin dealers stock up for Christmas sales. They are especially looking for the old collector coins like silver dollars, all 1700s through early 1900s coins. All kinds of gold from broken jewelry to gold bars to old coins. U.S. and foreign. All kinds of silver, from sterling silverware to old coins and bars to Franklin Mint items. They can pay cash or check, and we make house calls on larger deals prior to Thanksgiving. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. They'll make free, no obligation offers. Make that 20,000,001 reasons to go to Fox Valley Coins now. They give free in-store offers on your items.
For anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll discover what it's like to feel better. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
The Pope is dead. From Focus Features comes the electrifying new film, Conclave. We're about to choose the most famous man in the world. Based on the international best-selling thriller. The Pope discovered something before he died. Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci. Ambition becomes corruption. John Lithgow and Isabella Rossellini.
We sisters have eyes and ears.
Top critics are raving. Conclave is hands down the best picture of the year. I had to find the truth. Conclave, rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters October 25th.
If you're experiencing low energy, brain fog, or bloating, then your body might need a detox. Active Liver from New Nordic makes it easy to help your liver to detox your body all year long without major changes to your diet or lifestyle.
6:39. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this look at the travel times, the service of Robert Half. 9 of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring, and Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals utilize award-winning AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today. The Kennedy at 50 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The I-35 into the old post office. Stevenson, 40 minutes, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Jane Addams, disabled vehicle on the right shoulder being cleared out of your way. That's eastbound I-90 approaching Arlington Heights Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Nice day ahead, plenty of sunshine and a high of 71. Clear and 46 overnight. A warmer day tomorrow, plenty of sunshine, high 73. Sunday, sunshine in 76. It's clear and 43 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, America First with Sebastian Gorka. Weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, flashing back to the decision to continue to pursue Hamas into Rafah. This was Kamala Harris's warning to Bibi Netanyahu when that prospect was on the table. Don't do it, she said.
We have been clear in multiple conversations and in every way that any major military operation in Rafah would be a huge mistake. Let me tell you something. I have studied the maps.
Oh, my God.
There's nowhere for those folks to go. And we're looking at about 1.5 million people in Rafah who are there because they were told to go there, most of them. And so we've been very clear that it would be a mistake to move into Rafah with any type of military operation.
A mistake, but would there be consequences if he does move forward?
Well, we're going to take it one step at a time, but we've been very clear in terms of our perspective on whether or not that should happen.
Are you ruling out that there would be consequences from the United States?
I am ruling out nothing.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that just like the Iranians, Netanyahu knows that Biden and Harris are paper tigers. So they went into Rafah, and yesterday they announced they had taken out the mastermind of the 10/7 terrorist attack, the head of Hamas, Sinwar. A commentator, Israeli commentator, summarizing this, I thought very succinctly. The IDF is now releasing classified information about the hunt for Sinwar. The 6 hostages who were executed, including Hirsch, were the ones used as human shields by Sinwar for months. After the rescue of Farhan al-Qaidi, the Hamas leader left the tunnel where the hostages were being kept. Their physical condition no longer allowed them to be moved around, and Sinwar believed his best chance was to move swiftly from place to place. Not long after, Hamas executed them, the hostages, when the IDF was getting close. The destruction of much of the tunnel system also meant he had to hide above ground, part of the military operation in Rafah. In sum, it is the relentless pressure from the IDF that flushed Sinwar out and allowed them to take him out. And that's a positive occurrence because this is a terrorist organization leader. It's a positive occurrence that Israel over the last year has taken out most of the senior leadership of two Iranian terrorist proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas. But does that mean that there shouldn't be a pivot by Netanyahu now to negotiate some sort of ceasefire in exchange for hostages being released? There's still 101 Israeli hostages held by Hamas, reportedly.
Allegedly 5 Americans.
So for more on that, we're pleased to be joined by Cliff May. He is the president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies and foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times. Cliff, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan and Amy. You know, listening to that, I've heard that bite of Kamala Harris many times, and what just occurred to me, and it hadn't before, is we never heard Biden speaking as toughly to Hamas or to Iran. Never did she say, I'm telling Hamas now, I'm not asking. You have American hostages. You are to release them, or the consequences for you will be terrible. She never said to the rulers of Iran, this is your proxy. They've taken American hostages. You must order them released. If you do not, we will cause you severe pain. And she also should have said the same thing to the Qataris, because it's in Qatar that leaders of Hamas have been living. Right now, the principal leader lives in Qatar. Why not say to Qatar, who is made an ally, a major non-NATO ally of the U.S. by Biden, now you have a job to do. You have leader. Right now, they should be saying to the Hamas leader, order the release of the hostages. You're the leader of Hamas. Order the hostages released and tell your forces to put down their arms and surrender, so this ends for the people of Gaza, who are theoretically the people you lead. Do that now, or we put you into handcuffs.
But does that mean? Maybe this is a more nuanced answer than people want it to be. But with respect to Bibi, does that mean, in your view, that he should press on, or he should pause to provide opportunity for the hostages to be released and some sort of deal did be struck?
Not mutually exclusive. In fact, what Bibi has already done is he has said the first time, and as Kamala would say, and very clearly, I will give amnesty. You will live if you release the hostages. That's what we're asking you to do. Release the hostages, and you will live. If you do not, we're coming after you. We will find you, and we will kill you. But you have a chance to live right now. All you have to do is release the hostages. First time he's made that offer. He made it very clearly yesterday in a speech. At the same time, there are troops in Gaza, including the troops that found Sinwar. And these were not elite troops. These were not commandos. These were not special forces. They were young enlisted guys on a training mission, trying to learn how to do what they have to do to become sergeants. They were watching carefully. They saw things. They found things, and they ended up, to their surprise, getting into a firefight with Sinwar, who hid on the second story of the building, but unsuccessfully, and died there.
Yeah, throwing a stick at that drone, it wasn't going to be quite enough. By the way, great Liam Neeson impersonation there, though. I will find you and I will kill you. I mean, that is very, wow. Yeah, very stark. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, something else. It turned out, this is Dr. Eli David tweeting this out, who's a Jewish researcher and entrepreneur. The ID card carried by Sinwar's bodyguard identifies him as a UNRWA teacher, United Nations Relief Agency that the American taxpayers largely finance.
Yes, a couple of things. There's some dispute on that, but only for the following reasons. One is this UNRWA. This is the major UN organization that has been in Gaza for years and years and years. In theory, UNRWA is meant to resettle refugees. In practice, it does the opposite. It makes sure that generation upon generation think of themselves as refugees and think that what they have to do is kill Jews and Israelis. They're teachers in schools where they teach hatred. They provide clinics and healthcare and hospitals, and they're doctors. They provide jobs to Hamas members and the families of Hamas members. They have worked hand in glove with Hamas ever since Hamas took over Gaza Strip by force in 2007, 2 years after the Israelis fully withdrew. And what we think, and I've got some researchers who have been looking into this, that the idea you're looking at maybe somebody who died or left a couple of years ago, but Sinwar and the people with him figured that if they were going to travel abroad, a UN ID is very useful.
Oh,
so
it's just
it raises the possibility that's
fraud.
what he was about to do.
That's a
So
fraud.
get out.
But I mean, okay, so maybe that is not on the UNRWA, as you said, but that agency is terribly problematic, and
yes.
There were as you were sort of describing, and it is largely funded by Americans, as the UN is, at least disproportionately.
30%, right?
Yeah, and so there was this threat that if that relief agency wasn't getting resources to non-combatants in Gaza, that there would be consequences. That's what the Biden-Harris administration said. Well, they're not, and there haven't been any consequences. I mean, this is an organization that I don't want to be over the top, but we've talked about them before. The number of people that were involved in plotting the October 7th attack that had connections to UNRWA, that were employees of UNRWA. I mean, when do we designate this agency within the UN as a terrorist organization?
We should have done it yesterday. We should have done it the day before. We know now this is the social service agency of Hamas, which has allowed Hamas since 2007 to do what it wanted to do, not worry about healthcare, not worry about education, leave that to UNRWA, using often again Hamas members or their families. So Hamas could do the work it wanted to do, which was to build the subterranean fortress to be used for this war, to prepare for the invasion of 10/7/23 and the massacre, and that massacre was meant to start a regional war. And by the way, lest we ever forget for a minute, all this is very much under the auspices of the rulers in Tehran, who use the Palestinians as proxies and, more importantly, as pawns. And pawns are meant to be sacrificed in the great game that the rulers of Iran are playing. And their pawns and proxies are almost all Arabs, Palestinians, Lebanese, Yemenis, Syrians, Iraqis, people on the West Bank. That's what they are doing, because ever since 1979, when the revolution took place, I was there as a reporter, the slogan of the regime in Iran is death to Israel and death to America. That's their ambition, that and the formation of a new Islamic empire in the Middle East with its metropole, its capital in Tehran.
Well, let's talk about what's going on here in your article in the Washington Times. You talked about the anti-Zionists who, celebrated the murders, rapes, and abductions on the first anniversary of October 7th. But I don't know if you heard what's happening here. This is it was mortified. They're on the 294, which is a main thoroughfare, a toll road here in the Chicago area. Somebody hacked a billboard near a Jewish suburb of Northbrook and wrote F Israel, while another displayed the message death to Israel. And both billboards had Palestinian flags in the background. And so the company is, whoever owns the billboard is electronic billboard. But how in the world, did you ever think in your lifetime that you would see such hatred towards the Jewish community here in America?
I thought that after World War II, after the Holocaust, that here in America, no, we would never see anything quite like this. It's really important to understand. People misunderstand. To be a Zionist just means you believe that Israel has a right to exist and should exist. To be an anti-Zionist means you think Israel has no right to exist and should not exist. And the question that arises, if Israel shouldn't exist, by what means do you intend to disestablish it? And the means that most of these people that you're talking about have, very clear, it's genocide. They want to see what happened on 10/7 happen across Israel many times. They want to see the Israelis all murdered, massacred, raped, thrown into the sea. That's what they want. The other possibility is also problematic, and that would say, why does the Israelis just give citizenship to the people of Gaza and the West Bank? And then Hamas would be a political party, an armed political party, of course, and they could, run for election against such political parties that already exist in Israel, as Likud or Yesh Atid or, oh, by the way, the United Arab List, because 20% of Israelis are Arabs and Muslims. But that wouldn't work either. So what they want to see is and then there are those who scream, we don't want no two-state, we want 48. What do they mean? Well, in 1948, the UN recommended, very different than the UN, that there be a partition of Palestine into an Arab state and a Jewish state. Arabs didn't then identify as Palestinians. And the Arab states around Israel immediately invaded and tried to push all the Jews into the sea. But the War of Independence, Israel survived and has survived since, but you still have these genocidal forces around Israel, and they are led by the rulers in Iran, who are also viciously oppressing their own people.
What do you think about Kamala's distillation of her position on Iran, first on 60 Minutes and then the other day with Bret Baier talking about Iran as the greatest foreign threat America faces? And she essentially does this, typical sort of leftist projection deal where she's a hardliner on Iran, and Trump was the president who went soft on Iran by walking away from that nuclear deal that begun under Obama.
It's a total inversion of the truth, I'm afraid. There's no way in which the Biden administration has been tough on the Islamic Republic of Iran. It's enriched the Islamic Republic of Iran by at least $200 billion, and that money is used to produce nuclear weapons. They're working hard on it. They're very close to it, to support Hezbollah, to support Hamas, to support the Houthis, who are being supplied with missiles. The JCPOA, what they're talking about, what she's talking about, I guess, is Obama's plan, and there's no question that the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which was not comprehensive nor a plan of action, would not have stopped the Islamic Republic from acquiring nuclear weapons and the missiles to deliver them, not just to Israel, but anywhere in the world, including to the U.S. It might at best have delayed it, so it wouldn't happen on Obama's watch. That's all there was. And by the way, the Islamic Republic of Iran has told Biden numerous times over the past 3.5 years, we're not getting into any deal with you. You can continue to give us money, and which they have been, by not enforcing sanctions, by waiving sanctions, so we can sell oil cheaply to China, but we're not going anywhere with you. We're not doing anything. The Islamic Republic of Iran is a very serious threat to the U.S., but it's also in an axis we should understand with Beijing and with Moscow and with North Korea and increasingly with Venezuela and Cuba.
Cliff May is the president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, also a foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times. Cliff, thanks as always.
Dan, Amy, thank you.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Oh, I have a friend, Julia, who has taken a Balance of Nature now for quite some time. And she said, oh, Becky, ask your doctor about taking Balance of Nature. So I talked to my doctor about it, and she said, oh, try it.
You know, Balance of Nature is becoming pretty important out there to a lot of people. And when I first started, I was really impressed. I'm a healthcare professional, trained as a pharmacist, so anything that's natural I like, and so it made a lot of sense.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Gerard Baker asks, can Kamala Harris win by standing for nothing, or, I might add, by trying to stand for everything? We'll discuss that with Gerard Baker, Wall Street Journal, at 7:07.
And don't forget, Open Mic Friday later. But now let's head into the newsroom. Once again, here is Mike Scott.
A CPD officer who shot and killed a man in Garfield Park faces dismissal. An inmate seriously hurt after a fall at the McHenry County Jail. The Blackhawks sink the Sharks. Fighting Illini host Michigan. And the Bulls will take on the Cavaliers later on tonight in the last game of the NBA preseason. WIND Chicago News Time, 7.
He's meeting with a NATO ally. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Biden's in Germany.
Today, the Chancellor and I are going to discuss ongoing efforts to surge support to Ukraine's military.
This as South Korea confirms what Ukraine's president is also saying. That North Korea is going to send thousands of troops to join Russian forces battling inside Ukraine. The president also just commented on Israel killing Hamas's leader Yahya Sinwar, a mastermind of the October 7th terror attack that triggered the war in Gaza. Fox's Jackie Heinrichs in Berlin.
We just heard the president talk about the death of Sinwar really for the first time in depth, because the confirmation of it happened while Air Force One was in the air en route to Berlin.
The death of the leader of Hamas represents a moment of justice. He had the blood of Americans and Israelis, Palestinians and Germans and so many others on his hands.
The president's calling for a path to peace to get the remaining hostages free. But in a statement, a senior Hamas leader says Sinwar's killing will only make them stronger, as another Iran-backed group, Hezbollah, vows to escalate its fight against Israel from Lebanon. Former President Trump is about to go on TV on the Fox News channel this morning after he got some laughs last night in New York.
I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening, so here it goes. Nope, I've got nothing.
That was at the Al Smith Catholic Charities dinner. Presidential candidates traditionally go, but Vice President Harris was instead campaigning in Wisconsin. She sent a video with Saturday Night Live alum Molly Shannon reprising her Catholic schoolgirl role.
Does it bother you that Trump guy insults you all the time? Because it really bothers my friends and me.
Oh, Mary Catherine, it's very important to always remember you should never let anyone tell you who you are. You tell them who you are.
A death row inmate is still alive in Texas after the state Supreme Court blocked Robert Roberson's execution just before a lethal injection last night amid growing skepticism he's guilty of murdering his child. America's listening to Fox News.
43 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A Chicago police officer is facing dismissal for shooting a man to death in Garfield Park last year. Officer Fernando Ruiz shot and killed Reginald Clay Jr. during a pursuit April 15th of 2023. Civilian Office of Police Accountability recommended Ruiz be dismissed over the incident. However, CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling disagreed with COPA's recommendation and proposed a 2-day suspension instead. Family members reacted to the decision during the hearing.
I want to thank y'all, man. You know what I mean? COPA, Chicago Police Board, you heard us. You felt our pain.
Chicago Police Board siding with COPA last night. Now Ruiz must choose whether to take his case before the entire police board or pursue arbitration. The FAA is investigating after an American Airlines flight suffered engine damage after landing here in Chicago, arriving from Heathrow Airport in London. All passengers and crew safely exited that plane. An inmate is seriously hurt after falling down a flight of stairs at the McHenry County Jail. The incident happened yesterday morning at the correctional facility in Woodstock. No other inmates or corrections officers were near the individual when the fall happened. A jury is set for the racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. After 7 days, 8 women and 4 men were chosen yesterday to decide Madigan's fate. Now, on Monday, the court aims to add 2 alternates and is prepared for opening statements on Monday afternoon. Chicago sports found the Blackhawks getting off to a fast start and on their way to a 4-2 win over San Jose at the UC last night. Bulls wrap up the preseason with an NBA home game against Cleveland at the UC tonight. Baseball last night, David Fry launching a walk-off 2-run home run to help Cleveland win Game 3 over the Yankees, 7-5. NLCS, Dodgers a win away from the World Series after blowing out the Mets, 10-2. The news a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. Lower.com Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Charlie Kirk Show.
Republicans almost always lose last-minute voter registration. Voter registration leads to voter rolls. And the original sin of faulty elections is found in our voter rolls. Are you guys upset that people are voting that shouldn't be voting? It's because our voting rolls have not been cleaned, have not been maintained.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here for Northridge Prep. Northridge Prep is a great place to be a boy. What does that mean exactly? In short, it's thanks to a foundation of an all-boys environment that builds your son up into a man of intellect and character who loves God. The teachers and faculty members become mentors to students. And when you combine that with an atmosphere that's fun, competitive, and challenging, it creates an exceptional experience for your son. And the result is that the boys just love Northridge. They've been educating boys for nearly 50 years. And one of the things that stands out to me is their commitment to partnering with parents. Now, you hear this a lot with schools, but at Northridge, the parents can't stop talking about it. They built a community that really works together. Raising kids is difficult these days, and at Northridge, you can be confident your son is on the right path. They're having an open house on Sunday, October 20th, for boys in grades 6 through 12. Register today at northridgeprep.org. Again, that's Sunday, October 20th. Register at northridgeprep.org.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk.
An official message from Medicare. Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money. Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
After decades of treasured experiences and cherished moments, you want to feel the best that you can. Whether it's cheering on your grandchildren at their baseball games, planting new flowers in your yard, or simply spending quality time with loved ones. Take Balance of Nature's fruits and veggie supplements along with you. Made from whole fruits and vegetable ingredients, they are free from added fillers or preservatives. Embrace life's adventures with confidence, knowing you're getting more variety of fruit and vegetable ingredients every step of the way. Start your journey with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:09. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of the Chicago Board of Elections. Early voting in downtown Chicago now open through Election Day. Go to the Chicago Voting Super Site at 191 North Clark or the board offices at 69 West Washington. Go to chicagoelections.gov for more information. The inbound Kennedy at about 1 hour, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Outbound, report of an accident with a left lane block between Montrose and Central. Stevenson at 45 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive itself jamming up northbound between Balbo and Monroe. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Lots of sun, nice day. High today 71, clear tonight low 46. Sunny warm day tomorrow, the high at 73. And then Sunday, sunshine, a very warm day, the high 76. Monday, sunny and warm, and the high at 80. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
It's 43 at O'Hare. Next news 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Interesting piece in The Spectator by Neil Freeman about the search and rescue after the hurricanes, after Helene and Milton, both in North Carolina as well as in Florida, because Neil Freeman, the author, has places in both states. This, against the backdrop of what we were talking about earlier, Grady Judd, the sheriff of Polk County, Florida, and this huge sting operation where they made 157 arrests associated with human trafficking of people into this country illegally to commit further illegalities, some essentially doing it voluntarily, others under threat of violence from criminal organizations. The whole thing is disquieting, to say the least. But part of that was a story about a woman named Maria, a pseudonym, and a statement that she gave to the sheriff about what happened as soon as she got here, day one. She fills out all this paperwork to sign up for all of these benefits that she's going to get. Meanwhile, American citizens paying for Maria's benefits are not being treated to much support from the government they finance. This has been an interesting contrast over the last several weeks. An unfortunate one, but a telling one.
Now we gave more money to Ukraine yesterday, too.
Right, and more juxtaposition.
Oh, my God.
Neil Freeman is the author. I spent the last 3 weeks in the Carolina mountains and in coastal Florida. I've been there not as a storm-tossed reporter with a nose for news, but rather as a man blessed with the chance to work remotely, who has the chance to live in two of the boskiest dells God ever made. The tale is of two hometowns. For both, it's been the worst of times. Over the first 8 days of Helene's rampage through western North Carolina, I did not encounter in or around my mountain town a single representative of the federal government. No house check, no leaflet, no email, no phone call, no text. There were rumors of an FEMA outpost setting up at a shopping center in Brevard, which is in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, 45 minutes to the east. 3 of my neighbors, in one formulation or another, had the same reaction to those rumors. Damn, if I could get to Ingalls, why would I need FEMA? Ingalls is like Publix or Jewel.
Yeah.
Supermarket. By day 3 or 4, he goes on, of Helene's rampage, FEMA had become a verb, meaning, of course, to screw people over by overpromising and under-delivering. I got FEMA'd. For some reason, public disdain has been directed not so much as the head of FEMA as it has Mayorkas. Well, because that's where it should be. He's the top of that agency, and not to mention, after his wonderful stewardship of border security, you can understand why he is front and center in this discussion. Freeman writing, I wouldn't advise him to helicopter in for a self-congratulatory tour. How bad was the rampage? I mean, we've seen the pictures, but the description is vivid, too.
It just looks like a different place. I mean, it's a war zone.
He writes, it's unimaginably bad. A mountain community is an area where most people live up a mountain road from the interstate. In many cases, there's one way up and one way down. When rocks slide over the road or when rushing mud water tears it apart, or most frequently when falling trees block it, there's no way up and there's no way down. Your only option is to shelter in place if you still have a place. So to answer the first question from you, mostly post-industrial readers, yes, you can survive on rainwater and small animals and serving as your own doctor for most injuries. What you may not know is that it will take you all day to do so. Survival is a full-time job unless I suppose you have happened to attend an Army Ranger School. And to address your second question, yes, some people stood up and stood out. My experience has been that you never know who those people will be, and those people who rise to a tough circumstance, even as others are defeated by it, you want to bear hug those people. He writes, Franklin Graham was one of them. Franklin Graham was here, there, and everywhere, Samaritan's Purse, bringing water and other basics to parched survivors in their battered shelters. Elon Musk fought through bureaucratic barriers to bring his Starlink technology to some mountain people cut off from family, friends, and coworkers. Local law enforcement, sheriffs, and deputies left their uniforms and squad cars at homes, jumped in their pickups, and joined volunteer chain gangs clearing impassable roads. They served and protected lives during long days, and they saved lives off the clock. And this is an interesting one. And the Baptists. I will never again look at a Baptist in the same way. Within 24 hours, it seemed that every Baptist church in the mountains had spontaneously morphed into a field hospital, a child care facility, a food distribution depot, or some other hive of charitable activity. Uninvited, people would stop at a church parking lot, drop off a few bottles of water, a packet of bandages, an armful of firewood. Uninstructed young families would gravitate to the church, pop the trunk, and pack away as many diapers, as much formula as the volunteers could spare. People came for a shower, to borrow a satellite phone, to seek tips on missing relatives, or just to embrace another human being. It was a bloody miracle. And then he goes on to talk about, at least in his part of western North Carolina, that he got internet and cell service back, power was on, plumbing had moved back indoors, and so on and so forth. But I think the description is instructive, because one of the other takeaways, or perhaps ways to reconsider how you view the federal government, maybe this is a reminder that it is not reliance on the federal government where you want to cast your fate. It is those platoons of democracy, the churches, the Baptist churches he's talking about. It's it's the idea of subsidiarity, more power at the local level at the expense of central power. Because who is at the ready and doing the life-saving and life provision work in places like Western North Carolina. Well, you're hearing from people who needed the help. They know who came for them, and they know who didn't.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line. There's still 81 people still missing in North Carolina. And thank God for X, formerly known as Twitter, because you could see these people. They're living in tents where their houses used to be, next to a creek so they can have some water, and then they boil it so they can drink. What are we doing? Why is the Biden administration not helping their own? I don't get it. And then they made up these lies that this North Carolina militia group was threatening FEMA. And then we find out 2 days later, Dan, that was fake news. Somebody had called into the sheriff's office claiming that a militia was going to come and get FEMA workers, which was a hoax. So, I mean, just be careful what you're reading on mainstream media.
Yeah, well, also, if you have, I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding about what FEMA really is. I mean, dispense with whatever they say they are with respect to their marketing brochures. As Freeman writes, DeSantis has it figured out. When it comes to FEMA, DeSantis had their number a few storms back. The operative word in Federal Emergency Management Agency is not emergency. From my personal observation, FEMA doesn't search for people. FEMA doesn't rescue people. FEMA provides the management for the people who do the vital and dangerous work. FEMA does the more refined work described by the soft nouns of Washington bureaucracy. FEMA does liaison. FEMA does outreach. FEMA does collaboration. It convenes meetings to set the time and place for the next meeting. Yeah, like any other government bureaucracy, particularly at the federal level, distant from the people that it is charged to serve. He writes, as Freeman, last week DeSantis blurted out what he believes to be the truth about FEMA. He says he sees it as a kind of bank, as an institution that can provide financial resources to those who do the real work of search and rescue and recovery. Everybody needs a bank. It will shake out in due course whether FEMA will be as generous with the bank's depositors, taxpayers, American taxpayers, as it has been with illegal immigrants. Now, I think that's a proper way to conceive it. I think DeSantis has it exactly right. Yeah. That's what it is. I mean, that's what the federal government is generally. It is resource rich because of wealth extraction, and I'm not suggesting it should be resource rich. I'm just describing what it is today. But it is not, with the exception of highly trained military units, it is not a tactical, hyper-responsive, particularly expert organization. None of these agencies are. I love this. They liaison. They do outreach. They collaborate. They convene meetings to set the time and place of their next meeting. Right. They provide financing for the people doing the real work of search and rescue and recovery. That's what we've seen play out. I mean, to some extent, we saw it, or we would have seen it play out in Katrina as well if the locals were a little bit more organized. If Nagin and the governor there at the time, Blanco, right? If they had a little bit more competence, you probably would have seen the same thing when you did have competence finally descend there in the form of, military and other first responding personnel. It got a lot better, a lot faster. But the private sector was there. The local private initiative of impacted citizens was there. The platoons of democracy was there. So part of this conversation should be, in addition to sort of taking the obvious shots at FEMA, and I'm not saying they're undeserved, it's also to say let's remember for the next one of these what FEMA really can do and what it can't do, and let's assign resources according to who we know will actually do the most with them. And it's not a faraway bureaucracy in D.C. when the storms come for New Orleans or Western North Carolina or Florida or wherever, or fires in Hawaii or wherever else.
Text message, Dan and Amy, FEMA is never ready for our natural disasters because they are a bureaucratic disaster themselves.
Frank and Lamont, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, thank you for bringing this to the forefront. Every disaster starts and ends locally, right? And it has to start with people and their families being ready, and not this 3-day nonsense that they push in those brochures. You better be ready to handle it for a week or two. The first responders are always our neighbors, right? And you brought up, and what's brought up by DeSantis and everybody else, you better be ready. Your town better be ready. Your county, and go all the way up. FEMA does not provide not one boots on the ground to help you, right? They are the bank that DeSantis talks about to eventually pay for those boots. But folks, you better start gearing up and be ready. And when you mentioned all those places, that includes us in Cook County. When we get those ice storms, those tornadoes that whip through, you better be able to handle it on your own, folks.
Thanks for the call, Frank. Rich in LaGrange Park.
Yeah, hey, Dan and Amy. Just want to let you know, I was a fireman for 35 years. I did a lot of work with, forest fires and tornadoes and stuff like that. We are just as affected as the person that lives on the street. I mean, if the tornado comes through, our vehicles are not going out the door. I mean, there's so much debris. Our tires are blown out. You need food, and you need medicine and all kinds of stuff just to survive.
Absolutely.
Imagine having
no,
children.
absolutely. Thanks for the call.
Diapers, baby formula. I mean, oh my goodness.
Well, this is the point. This is where, as Frank is saying, everybody, you got to be ready, right? But also the institutions. We always look for government. What about the institutions, and the institutions that rally the faithful or their membership in these moments? And it could be whatever. It could be a VFW hall. It could be an Elks Lodge. It could be the Baptist Church. I mean, we need to sort of reorient ourselves in a free society to being a free society where we're our brother's keeper and we rely on these mediating institutions that we set up, that we're a part of, not politicians, whether they're local or far away. So the sort of the one-size-fits-all, top-down government response to everything. It's better at the local level, not always. Wasn't in New Orleans, but generally speaking, because people know each other, they know the topography, and it's also, frankly, easier to backfill some sort of gap in response at the local level with local people than it is to work through a federal bureaucracy to do it. Ralph and Rantoul.
Yeah, good morning. When my mom's house was flooded, along with thousands of other people, she had about 60,000 gallons of water in her basement when a river dike failed. It flooded thousands and thousands of people. The federal government, nobody even thought of talking to those stooges. Local people did everything. First time in my life that I ever actually saw a Salvation Army disaster relief truck drove up and fed people who couldn't eat because their houses were wrecked. The other thing that I will never forget is the Second Amendment is really important because, yes, scumbag looters from out of the area who heard about the devastation moved in, and it was individual homeowners as well as policemen on foot walking down the streets at night with long guns, rifles, or shotguns that help protect that area. So federal government, as far as I'm concerned, they take my money. I get very little for it, except in military that's supposed to do their jobs protecting us, rather than teaching people about trans everything and woke garbage. Local people did everything, including our church members. It was all done by neighborhood local people. End of story.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. Bill in Crown Point.
Well, it's Bill in Jacksonville, Florida area, and now my neighbor.
Oh,
How are
really?
you this morning?
Oh, very good. How'd Jacksonville fare?
Jacksonville did really well. I mean, we had a bunch of trees come down and some wind and some rain, but in comparison to our neighbors in the Central Florida area that were just devastated, we did very well in both accords. I mean, we had quite a bit more rain and wind with the first round, but the second one wasn't so bad because we caught the other side of it. But, to the point of the conversation, the gentleman prior kind of riding his coattails, as you can probably imagine, our government's bloated. if these funds that are being sent to these agencies can be redirected to local governments and let the local governments manage that, let those funds be there at the ready and be allocated appropriately versus having to fight the corruption and fight that money versus what's entitled to these states. The same thing with the NEA. That if you look at the NEA as a perfect example of that. That agency alone is so corrupt, it's crazy.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Brenna in Plainfield.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. Remember the Plainfield tornado?
Sure.
I sure do.
There was so much, people were very generous with their donations. And unfortunately, we didn't have the capacity back then or at least the local government didn't have the capacity to know how to dole out the funds. And so they called in a bigwig, and the bigwig company that still exists today started refusing to dole out the money and ended up putting in their pockets, and boom, it was gone.
Well, what's the name of the company? Call them out. Or are you scared of retaliation?
You're talking like a restoration company, like a ServPro or something like that?
No. This was a charitable company.
You mean like the Red Cross?
No, it was. It escapes me off the top of my head.
Okay.
But unfortunately, there were a lot of local people that were denied any type of help, even though the funds were raised specifically, for the local people to be able to have some help.
Yeah. Right. Maintain local control. That's a good takeaway from this too. Thanks for the call, Brenna. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Hello, my name is Gina. When I first found out that I was pregnant, I was in a very dark place. I was living out of my car or on the streets, working as a dancer at a nightclub, heavily into drugs and alcohol, and I didn't know how I was going to deal with having a child. People look at someone living like I was and say, that's why we need abortion. I didn't need an abortion. What I needed was help. So Aid for Women helped me move into Heather's house. They gave me everything. A place to stay, clothes, food, a listening ear, help with my daughter, everything. To learn more about my story, watch my video, and support this great organization, go to helpaidforwomen.org. That's helpaidforwomen.org. You can help save lives and souls like mine from abortion today.
Aid for Women offers women real choice. They really do terrific pro-life work. Please step up and support this great organization. Go to helpaidforwomen.org.
Do you just grin and bear it or bite the bullet when it comes to everyday pain? Don't. Try Relief Factor, a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free, it's developed by doctors. In 3 weeks or less, you'll know whether it works for you like it works for me. Try Relief Factor for yourself. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
The Pope is dead. From Focus Features comes the electrifying new film, Conclave.
We're about to choose the most famous man in the world.
Based on the international best-selling thriller.
The Pope discovered something before he died.
Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci.
Ambition becomes corruption.
John Lithgow and Isabella Rossellini.
We sisters have eyes and ears.
Top critics are raving. Conclave is hands down the best picture of the year.
I had to find the truth.
Conclave, rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters October 25th.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, we'll talk to the great social commentator and former prison psychiatrist Theodore Dalrymple about, the Lavender Bund and gender medicine in quotation marks. 7:37.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom once again. Here's Mike Scott.
7:32.
Your opening statement.
43 degrees in Chicago. And Israeli forces have killed the leader of Hamas.
Here celebrating the news of the death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Renewed hope mixed with concern for the remaining 101 hostages in Gaza. And drone video shows the final moments of Yahya Sinwar's life. Sinwar was the head of Hamas, considered a charismatic leader, and the mastermind of the despicable October 7th attack. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Sinwar's image of being a fearless military leader has been shattered. The U.S. State Department says while Sinwar was alive, he refused to release the rest of the hostages, prolonging this war.
Fox's Matt Finn is reporting in Tel Aviv today. A Texas man's scheduled execution is on hold after his lawyers spent hours going back and forth with the state. Death row inmate Robert Roberson was set to be executed by lethal injection. Lawmakers argue bad science may have led to the conviction and called for Roberson's execution to be examined. A bank in Lincoln Park this morning was vandalized with messages appearing to be connected to the Israel-Hamas war. The damaged Citibank is located at North Halsted and Armitage. Witnesses saw the vandals spray anti-Jewish and anti-Zionist slogans on two windows. The suspects were running away. One officer was able to catch up with one of them and arrest a 56-year-old man. Chicago police officer is facing dismissal for shooting a man to death in Garfield Park last year. Officer Fernando Ruiz shot and killed Reginald Clay Jr. during a pursuit April 15th of 2023. COPA recommended Ruiz be dismissed. The department fought back, saying COPA's recommendation was disagreed with, and Superintendent Larry Snelling instead proposed a 2-day suspension. Chicago Police Board sided with COPA last night. Ruiz must now choose whether to take his case before the entire police board or pursue arbitration. Blackhawks got off to a fast start in a 4-2 win over San Jose last night at the UC, and the Hawks host the Sabres tomorrow night. Bulls wrap up the NBA preseason with a home contest against Cleveland at the UC tonight. The news is a service of Turnkey.pro. For less than the price of a monthly car payment, Turnkey will fully protect your network with up-to-date cyber protection, unlimited backup, unlimited 24/7 help desk support, and real-time threat hunting. Protect your small business today. Visit Turnkey.pro. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by JeffBuysYourHouse.com and by the Kaplan Law Firm.
After decades of treasured experiences and cherished moments, you want to feel the best that you can. Whether it's cheering on your grandchildren at their baseball games, planting new flowers in your yard, or simply spending quality time with loved ones. Take Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements along with you. Made from whole fruits and vegetable ingredients, they are free from added fillers or preservatives. Embrace life's adventures with confidence, knowing you're getting more variety of fruit and vegetable ingredients every step of the way. Start your journey with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Right now, with an important alert, home title fraud is one of the fastest growing white-collar crimes in the country. Criminals can make millions on your house without you even knowing it. Michael, you were one of those criminals?
Yeah, that's right. I was responsible for about $16 million in equity theft and title fraud.
Wow.
And to be honest, it was easy to do. It's just paperwork. So by the time you find out what's happening, the equity in your home is already gone.
So how do you keep your property and equity safe? For more, here's Action News reporter Ron Stevens.
Well, Monica, an in-depth investigation found there's actually just one company that prevents this type of crime from happening: Equity Protect. Equity Protect scans, monitors, alerts, and most importantly, protects you from any attempts to tamper with or steal your home equity and ownership 24 hours a day. Other companies merely monitor. Equity Protect stops the crime from happening. Find out if you're already a victim or take a free risk assessment today at equityprotect.com. That's equityprotect.com.
IC Catholic Prep in Elmhurst is an AP honor roll school dedicated to challenging and inspiring young men and women, offering opportunities to grow in your faith and participate in exciting extracurricular activities. IC Catholic Prep is a great choice because of their tight-knit community, dedicated teachers, and rigorous college preparatory curriculum. IC Catholic Prep is centered in Jesus Christ and rooted in Catholic tradition. Students learn, lead, and serve throughout their lives. Now is your chance to experience IC Catholic Prep at their open house on October 30th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The campus is located just south of downtown Elmhurst at 217 South Cottage Hill. This open house is a fantastic opportunity to see firsthand how they foster a strong sense of community and academic excellence. Bring your middle school kids and see in person why IC Catholic Prep is the right choice for your family. For more details or to register for the open house, visit iccatholicprep.org. We look forward to welcoming you on October 30th.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center Time is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over if you have a Blue Cross or Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP. You could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. The Edens checks in okay this morning. The Kennedy lighter than normal, 46 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Dan Ryan, 30 minutes. 95th into the Circle, heavy between 47th and the Circle interchange. Tri-State, earlier disabled semi has been pulled out of your way. It's on the northbound side of 294, but delays remain between the Mylong Bridge and the Hinsdale Oasis. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Nice day ahead, plenty of sunshine, high 71. Clear and 46 overnight. Tomorrow, a warm day ahead, plenty of sunshine, high 73. Currently, 43 at O'Hare, 45 at Midway. And your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. What spawns these videos? A father posted this video of his 11-year-old son who is pretending to be a girl who goes by Edie, and she's preparing for her first date. He is 11. 11-year-old boy pretending to be a girl going on his first date, and dad proudly films this for social media consumption.
My daughter Edie, and today is a big day because she's going on her first date.
This is what I'm going to wear. So the guy I'm meeting is a big fan of Stranger Things, so I got him some gifts. So first I got Jonathan, then I got Matt, then I got a Henry, and I also got Dustin. Oh, and if the date doesn't work out, I'm keeping them. I also got him this iPad so he can FaceTime me. I'll also be keeping this if the date doesn't go well. Okay, now I'm all ready to go on the date and I'll update you guys how it went.
I don't want an update.
There's so much wrong with that. It's difficult to know where to begin, and it includes the gender identity portion, but a lot of it has to do with social media and whatever is going on in that house. Anyway, another such example of this. To answer the question, what spawns these videos?
Yeah, this is grotesque.
A middle school gay-straight alliance group, middle school. The senior leadership of the middle school gay-straight alliance introduces themselves, again, for social media consumption, in full rainbow regalia.
Hello, my name is Ace. I also go by Spade and Alex. A lot of people call me Marshmallow. I use any pronouns except for she, her, and I am the social media secretary of the Saline Middle School Gay Straight Alliance Club. This will be our first video, so we are doing a brief introduction of the membership. But other than that, have a good time here.
Hi, I'm Jinx. I go by they pronouns, and I am the vice president of GSA, and I am Cal's father.
Hi, my name is B. Pronouns they, them, and I'm GSA secretary. One little fact about myself is that I like public speaking.
Hello, my name is Asher Rohan, depending on where you know me from. My pronouns are they, them, and I am the club treasurer. Fact about me is that I'm an artist. I like to draw digitally, and yeah, that's it.
I'm Socks. I am the 8th grade representative of the GSA. I use she, they pronouns, and one interesting fact about me is that I was one of 3 cuttable characters in the play.
Hi, my name is Clover. My pronouns change often, but if you don't know, just say they, them. I'm the 6th grade representative, and one fact about me is I love manga.
The president did not want to be in this video, but their name is Cal, and they have purple and black hair, if you want to know. Bye!
That's very interesting incidents of grade schoolers identifying as on the LGBTQIA2S++ spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah, but I want to go back to Edie real quick. I know we have a guest, but she's an 11-year-old who goes on a date at 11 years old. And the video that the dad, what makes it even what grotesque to me is she's got, like, this is a pedophile's dream, or whatever. He has her in a half shirt and a short skirt. Shame on him.
He has him in a half shirt.
It's gross.
Uh-huh.
He should be in jail for that. That is encouraging bad behavior, and I'm appalled.
Our friend Theodore Dalrymple, writing over at City Journal in a piece entitled, "What Are We Doing to Children?" That's a good question. And so what spawns these videos? These videos?
Clicks. I don't know what. This one has 1.2 million views so far.
What spawns them is... What spawns videos like you just heard is videos like you just heard. That's my contention. Let's get an expert's contention. He is Theodore Dalrymple, contributing editor to the aforesaid City Journal, senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, the author of many wonderful books. If you're not familiar with Theodore Dalrymple's oeuvre, you should get familiar. His latest is entitled On the Ivory Stages, published by Marabou Press. On the Ivory Stages is Theodore Dalrymple's latest book. Theodore Dalrymple, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for asking me.
So the suddenness with which an infrequent diagnosis becomes first common and then the object of an entire ideology and social cause is astonishing. Well, you're describing what's happened with gender identity. So how does it happen? What is the basis of videos like we just played?
Well, I can't claim to have the complete answer. I think it's a compound of many things. Apart from anything else, it's self-dramatization, narcissism, the ability to show off, the desire to individuate yourself without having any individuality. And this seems to have increased enormously possibly as a result of a decline in any form of religious belief. I don't know ultimately, but at any rate, it's a form of narcissism and self-dramatization, and it's been encouraged by, dare I say it, an entire industry.
Well, and the entire industry being the medical profession?
Yes, and social workers and the so-called caring professions.
Well, right, and we talked about this report that came out last week, the Do No Harm, which is a nonprofit that opposes this sort of gender ideology informing medical decisions. And they've got a list of the hospitals that do gender transition surgeries and prescribe puberty blockers for kids and all this stuff. It's all they're focused on kids specifically, of course, right, that don't have agency and legal standing. It's this is still in its infancy, but it's in the tens of millions of dollars in terms of the money generated for these procedures and those prescriptions. And so in addition to an ideological component, there's a financial one.
Yes. Well, they often go together. But I mean, if you just think about the prescription of puberty blockers to obviously pre-pubertal children, the long-term effects aren't known. And in fact, you can't do proper research on it because it's unethical to do it. I mean, if you start experimenting on children for a non-fatal condition whose natural history anyway is completely unknown, you're entering Dr. Mengele country. This is like Dr. Mengele conducting experiments. So in other words, it is completely unethical to do any research, in my view, that is, any research on puberty blockers.
Well, is that and ultimately wasn't that the conclusion that British authorities reached when they shut down the Tavistock clinic?
Not quite as strong as that, as they should have been. They said until more research is done, but that research should never be done.
Right.
Because you can't ask children for their consent because almost by definition, they don't understand what they're consenting to. And so you're experimenting on young children without any idea really of what the consequences of doing so are. And while this might once have been all right for a disease such as leukemia, which is now fortunately treatable, this situation is not at all comparable. So what I would say is that the people who are doing this are not merely mistaken, but criminal.
And so is that why British authorities are tiptoeing back from the precipice here, even if they're using sort of weaselly language to do so, is because they realize there isn't the evidentiary support and frankly, perhaps there's a lot more legal and moral exposure than they're comfortable with?
Yes. I mean, I think what might bring it all to an end is the legal consequences. I mean, it shouldn't be legal consequences that bring it to an end. It should be reflection on the morality of the whole situation. But at some stage, there are going to be huge legal actions. In fact, there's already one legal action in Britain, a class action against the Tavistock Clinic. And this, because we have a socialized medical system, the people who are going to pay, of course, are the taxpayers. But nevertheless, there's going to be a huge legal liability in the near future.
Well, it's so interesting in Britain because, I mean, Britain is going so far the other way in so many respects, as is America, but Britain even faster. I mean, I saw a court ruling this week that calling a bald man bald is a form of sexual harassment, just as it would be as commenting on a woman's physical features, and this is actionable. In addition to people in Britain being routinely, visited by police for social media posts that question, the COVID vaccine or question any particular policy where the debate they say is over. So it's just interesting that at this, where there's so much zeitgeist behind this gender identity business, Britain is going the other way.
Yes, well, I'm very glad. I wish it were going the other way in other respects too. But there is a reaction against this also. The British Medical Association, of which I cannot speak lowly enough, suggested that the BMA should not accept the Cass report. And of course, the BMA has no standing in the matter, actually. It hasn't the ability to enforce anything upon doctors. But nevertheless, it goes to show what terrible people we have in control of the largest medical association in the country.
I just want to go to something that you included in this piece you wrote for City Journal, What Are We Doing to Children? It was interesting. You went back to your time as a prison psychiatrist and how you and your colleagues dealt with male inmates who identified as transsexual. And I like the way you described it, too, so sort of describing how the approach you took, in an era when these sorts of diagnoses were pre-ideological in terms of determination of what to do. So, I mean, just when these, nothing is new. So when this occurred pre-ideological orthodoxy on the topic coming from the left and the institutions it controls in the West, what did you do? What did you and your colleagues do in those situations?
Well, in practice, what happened was that male transsexual, I mean, I get terribly muddled up whether a male transsexual is a male going to male or a female going to male. I always get it muddled up. But anyway, the males who were going to females were actually kept in male prisons, and they, like sex offenders, they were put into conditions of special protection, so that they didn't mix with most of the other prisoners who would almost certainly have been physically abusive to them. And so they were united with the sex offenders who were protected from the activities of the rest of the prisoners. But they were very few, of course. I mean, one of the most remarkable things about this is the astonishing increase in prevalence in 2013. I think DSM-5 was published. It gave the prevalence of gender dysphoria as 0.00, I think it was 0.0013% of the population. That was sort of one in 100,000. And in 2017, there was an editorial in the New England Journal of Medicine which suggested that 0.6, that is 6 in 1,000 people in America have gender dysphoria. Well, that's a 7,000% increase in a matter of 4 years. And the New England Journal of Medicine did not even notice it, let alone comment on it, or even think, how can this be so? What is the explanation of this increase? Is it an unrecognized? Is it that it was unrecognized before, or is it something else? My own view is that it's a form of social hysteria and narcissism. But anyway, even if my explanation is incorrect, you would have thought that it was a question that would arise in people's minds, but not at all.
Well, isn't it rising in popularity because it's a big business? I mean, it's going to be $1 billion business soon. It's a way to make money.
There's big money, but there's also the individual people who are, I think, probably seeking to dramatize their own lives, or in some cases, it's child abuse by proxy. I mean, it's parents actively encouraging their children to change sex or to claim that they are Of course, at their age, I didn't even know what sex was, but still. There's more than one thing going into this horrible, muddy river.
Theodore Dalrymple is contributing editor to City Journal, senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, and author of many books, including his latest, On the Ivory Stages. On the Ivory Stages, Theodore Dalrymple's latest book. Theodore Dalrymple, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk to writer Dave Seminara, see how he survived the storms in St. Petersburg, Florida, where he lives, and how the country will survive the storm of Kamala Harris. That's at 8:08.
And what are voters in Arizona doing? We'll explain. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
An American Airlines flight suffers engine damage after landing in Chicago yesterday. An inmate seriously hurt after a fall at the McHenry County Jail. Jury selection nearly wrapping up in the Madigan trial. One hospitalized after a Northwest Side fire. Blackhawks sink the Sharks. Illinois hosts Michigan tomorrow, and the Bulls take on the Cavaliers tonight. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
Trump on TV. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The former president was just on Fox and Friends.
I am the most stable human being. Remember they said a stable genius. I am the most stable human being. I've been doing this for a long time.
As for his rival, Vice President Harris.
She's a low IQ person. She's not smart. Everyone knows that.
And the former president touted his outrage to minority voters.
I just saw a Hispanic poll where I'm at 52%. Nobody's ever seen that before.
Later, he'll campaign in Michigan. So will Vice President Harris, who said at a rally in Wisconsin.
The American people are exhausted with his gaslighting.
Now, President Biden's in Germany for talks focused on further helping Ukraine battle Russia. As South Korea's spy agency joins Ukraine's president, saying North Korea is sending thousands of troops to fight with Russian forces in Ukraine. The president has also just talked about Gaza, saying Israel's killing of Hamas's leader, Yahya Sinwar, was justice.
Let's also make this moment an opportunity to seek a path to peace, a better future in Gaza without Hamas.
Now, Israel's prime minister says the war is not over. And a top Hamas official just said they will not set hostages free in Gaza until there's a ceasefire and Israel withdraws. Fox's Matt Finn in Tel Aviv reads more of Hamas's statement.
It seems that Israel believes that killing our leaders means the end of our movement and the struggle of the Palestinian people. We believe that our destiny is one of two good things, either victory or martyrdom.
A condemned man woke up this morning on death row in Texas. But Robert Roberson wasn't supposed to until the state Supreme Court blocked his lethal injection last night, like many state lawmakers in both parties had called for, including Rep. John Busey.
He knows this isn't over. He wants the truth to come to light, and the Texas House is working to do that.
Now, Roberson was convicted of murdering his 2-year-old daughter in 2002 by shaking her, but doubts are growing about his guilt. Even the lead investigator in the case now says he was wrong then and Roberson's innocent. America's listening to Fox News.
Sunshine, 43 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Major problems on the CTA this morning. Brown line trains, pink line trains, even red line trains are being rerouted and delayed. due to fire activity on a Brown Line train. Several crews remain on the scene. Power is shut down. Again, pink, orange, green, brown, and purple line express trains are all delayed this morning. No trains for the moment are getting past Adams and Wabash. It's a major headache for CTA commuters this morning. A bank in Lincoln Park was vandalized with anti-Jewish, anti-Zionist messaging early this morning, with messages appearing connected to the Israel and Hamas war. The damaged Citibank, located on North Halsted and Armitage. Witnesses saw vandals break windows and then spray paint the slogans in the bank. As the suspects were running away, officers were able to catch one and arrest him. A Chicago police officer is facing dismissal for shooting a man to death in Garfield Park last year. Officer Fernando Ruiz shot and killed Reginald Clay Jr. during pursuit on April 15 of 2023. COPA recommended Ruiz be dismissed. Superintendent Larry Snelling disagreed and proposed a 2-day suspension instead. Family members reacted during the hearing last night.
I want to thank y'all, man. You know what I mean? COPA, Chicago Police Board, you heard us. You felt our pain.
Ruiz must now choose whether to take his case before the entire police board or pursue arbitration. The news service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over if you have medical PPO insurance. Find out how you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. It's 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
American Express is still seeing card members traveling and dining in restaurants. Spending rose 6% in the recent quarter. Amex also picked up more revenue from card fees. Its earnings topped expectations. It's raising its forecast for the year, though the stock is lower after rising to a record yesterday. Procter & Gamble says shoppers are continuing to pay more for its premium products, Tide detergent and Pampers diapers. Its sales were slightly lower in the summer quarter, but P&G blames the weaker economy in China and the Middle East conflict. It is not planning to lower prices. And there's a management shakeup at CBS. Veteran company executive David Joyner has taken over as president and CEO, succeeding Karen Lynch. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
8:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher, The Mike Gallagher Show.
Gosh, we've got an opportunity, but we also have a potential for a political catastrophe, an economic catastrophe, an American catastrophe if this woman gets elected. It would be horrifying. In fact, the more America gets to know her, I'm trusting and hoping that the more people are realizing we cannot possibly make her commander-in-chief.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, it's Dan Proft for Willows Academy, an authentically Catholic all-girls school that supports traditional values. Where graduates attend some of the best colleges in the country, and last year's graduating class received more than $8 million in scholarship offers. For 50 years, Willows has partnered with families in the Chicagoland area to educate young women who will change the world. But how do they do it? By developing virtue, intellectual clarity, and confidence in students to live by the values that have made America great. With all the pressure on girls from society and social media to conform, Willows offers your daughter a supportive environment that helps her understand and live the balance between authentic freedom and personal responsibility. As a parent, the quality of the education and the values of the school will give you serious peace of mind. Check out Willows Academy at an open house on Sunday, October 27th at 1 p.m. You can register online at willowsacademy.org. It's open for all girls in grades 6 through 12. Again, that open house is Sunday, October 27th, and you can register at willowsacademy.org.
Conveyors keep your products moving, but when they break down, it can cost your company time and money. If you need help with conveyors, call a company that has the expertise and capability to help.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. I've got over 40 years of personal experience in dealing with conveyors and their related parts. At Vans, we install and maintain all types of conveyors, including screw conveyors, belt conveyors, drag conveyors, and bucket elevators. And if you need related conveyor chutes, drives, guards, or dust collection, we can design and install all of these components for your conveyor system.
Vans uses only the best and safest union-trained mechanics insured at the highest levels to perform the job right. Call 833-VANS-IND to schedule your conveyor inspection today. That's 833-VANSIND. Visit them online at vansindustrial.com. That's VANSindustrial.com. Vans Industrial, working safe since 1964.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
8:09. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of Lowe's. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime. Download the Lowe's app to find what you need today. And we told you earlier at the beginning of this newscast, CTA Red Line, Pink Line, Brown Line, even Orange Line trains heavily delayed due to fire activity on a Brown Line train. No trains getting past Adams and Wabash right now. We'll keep our eyes on that for you. Meantime, delays on the Tri-State northbound. You'll hit the brakes right at Roosevelt. Dan Ryan Express lanes jammed up inbound 47th into the Stevenson. Stevenson is slow and go inbound from Harlem Avenue all the way into the Dan Ryan. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Plenty of sunshine, a very nice day today, the high at 71, clear tonight, low 46, sunny warm day tomorrow, the high 73, and then clear tomorrow night, low 50, a sunny warm day on Sunday, the high 76, Monday sunny and the high near 80. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
44 at O'Hare, your next news update, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the expected damage control for Kamala after the interview she gave to Bret Baier. This is how Politico told the story. Harris praised her interlocutor. Bret Baier is a serious journalist. A contrast from Trump saying Fox News was owned by her spokesman, Ian Sams. And she took a step to diffuse last week's self-own that her presidency would not be much different than Joe Biden's. My presidency would not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency, she told Baier. Oh, didn't explain how, parenthetically. Harris survived the interview with no apparent gaffes, going on offense on a day Trump seemed mired in a defensive crouch.
Oh, my God. And then they were touting that they got 7.1 million views, where his town hall earlier in the day with Harris Faulkner only got 3 million views. But if it was such a successful interview, why didn't they put any of the clips on her campaign website or on Twitter or X or Facebook? Why not publish, let everybody who couldn't see it at the time, check out your great work, the great interview that you did.
Yeah, a lot of disasters get more clicks on YouTube than do world-class performances too. So I don't know that necessarily views is the metric by which you properly assess impact. Hillary Clinton was trotted out, part of the sisterhood of the traveling pantsuit with Kamala, trotted out on Larry O'Donnell's show to run interference.
And then on Fox, she stood up for herself. She didn't take any of the sort of foxiness rhetoric that came from Bear. And she was able to make her points despite every effort to undermine her and talk over her. She's exactly the kind of person that I want to be president.
No, there's no question. Yeah, it was great that she was able to try to drown Brett Baer's questioning out because, of course, the point of the interview is to just sit there and say go and let her talk uninterrupted for 26 minutes. Sure. Okay. Well, thinking of Hillary, though, it reminded me of something. It reminded me of Hillary's response to Benghazi. And that reminded me of Kamala's response to the Alexis Nungari, mom of 12-year-old Jocelyn, who was murdered by a person in this country illegally. This is where she got it. Hillary sort of provided the template. Mm-hmm. Remember what Hillary's posture was towards Benghazi? As Secretary of State, I take responsibility. I take general responsibility so I don't have to offer a specific accounting. And this is what you got from Kamala in what I thought was the most devastating moment of the interview, where Brett played that clip of Jocelyn and Gary's mom and asked her to react.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in all fairness, I told you I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
And we're supposed to feel awful that Kamala feels awful. The expression of apology without the acceptance of responsibility. And yet she was in the room for all the major decisions. And major decisions Joe Biden made exceedingly well, according to her.
Why didn't you just say that? In the Biden administration, which, yes, I was a part of, we did make mistakes. We made bad decisions. But that will not happen again. I'm taking ownership of this. But you can't do that.
No. That's not how you do it. You do it like
sorry.
Hill Dog did with Benghazi.
Yeah, that's right.
What
difference does it make?
Dave Seminar's a former diplomat, author of Footsteps of Federer and Mad Travelers, A Tale of Wanderlust Greed and the Quest to Reach the Ends of the Earth. Dave, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
Before we get to Kamala and the campaign, how did you fare? I saw you wrote about it a bit, so I have an idea. But how did you fare in St. Petersburg, Florida, with Milton and Helene?
We were lucky on both occasions compared to many of our neighbors. Literally, my next door neighbor, his house flooded very badly. I think the statistic I saw was for Pinellas County, where I live, something like 17,000 homes flooded, either during Milton or Helene. We had 2 within 12 days. And I came out of it pretty well, although we have all these big, huge oak trees, which were kind of massacred. So my entire driveway, I should say half of my driveway, is filled with lumber right now. I could have a huge bonfire. Or I could wait for months for them to pick up this debris. I don't know. We'll see what we decide to do.
I don't know. You don't have the ServPro trucks circling the neighborhood getting stuff cleaned up?
No, because what's happening is the dump sites, it's a 3-4 hour wait to actually dump a load of debris.
Right.
So no one actually wants to do that. There's plenty of opportunists around who are willing to trim your trees, chop things. They're willing to do all kinds of work, but they don't want to go to the dump site because it takes 3-4 hours to dump a load. In our FEMA site, you might have heard our mayor, our illustrious mayor, had a telephone call with Kamala Harris. Did you hear about that? After DeSantis didn't take her call, she turned to the mayor of St. Petersburg, our woke mayor, Ken Welch, who is really completely incompetent. They had a telephone call that both of them tweeted out a video of, and she boasted that they were going to open up this FEMA office for us, a disaster office here in St. Petersburg. That's what Kamala said. Well, I went to go check that out on Monday, and it turns out that place, our disaster recovery center, is a disaster in and of itself. First of all, it's not in St. Petersburg, as Kamala said it was going to be. It's in a town called Largo, which is about 30, 40 minutes away from us. And I went there on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday around lunchtime. And there must have been 500-600 people in line, and I would estimate the FEMA employees there. There were maybe, I would say, 5 or 6 employees there. So the customer-to-employee ratio was about 100 to 1. People were standing for hours in the broiling sun trying to get questions answered. They had already run out of meals. They were supposed to be giving out free meals there. They'd already run out of, I was there, I think around 1 o'clock. They'd already run out of food. That's how many people who had come by. So, yeah, not too impressed.
You'd have to waste a whole day. You'd have to take off work just to try and get some FEMA relief. Do you know anybody who's gotten anything, any benefits at all from FEMA?
Yes. In fact, the FEMA money has already come through. And if you lost power, sorry, my dog is crying over here. If you lost power for a certain number of days and were out of, there's a certain number of different criteria. My wife filled out the application, and the FEMA money, I believe we got $700. It came direct deposited into our account literally in like 2 days after we filed the application. So that I was actually impressed by. Now, if only we could get our city cleaned up, after Helene, so many people lost everything. So sofas outside, like literally, it's so sad coming around the city because you see people's entire belongings, everything, their flooring, their furniture, and all of these belongings were not picked up after Helene, right? So they had 11 or 12 days in between the hurricanes to try to, remove all this stuff, and they did not do so. So a lot of contaminated stuff is everywhere. Some of it flew around in the second hurricane. So St. Petersburg is quite a mess. Thankfully, we have a good governor, but we have an awful mayor, and I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Local matters too, no question. Well, it's the
Yes.
FEMA thing. The FEMA thing is so I experienced this through in Ian in particular when I got hit, and so the FEMA thing, yeah, they're like the insurance companies, which are like the government. I mean, they're big. They essentially are utilities.
And so.
So FEMA is Johnny on the spot with that $750 that direct deposits to your account, and then poof, they're gone. The insurance companies, Johnny on the spot for pennies on the dollar of whatever you assess initially, and then poof, they're gone, and you have to litigate the matter for years into the future.
The big long-term issue for us here and also in other disaster-prone states is what's going to happen to our homeowners insurance policies, because during the Biden administration, I don't have the figure right in front of me, but I looked it up a few days ago. Those insurance rates, especially for homeowners, have gone up something like 200% here in Florida. The government has done nothing about that. And imagine what's going to happen now after 2 hurricanes to our homeowners. How are people going to afford it? How am I going to afford it? I don't know. Many people also lost their cars, too. Cars were completely flooded. Some friends of ours lost both of their vehicles.
Actually, the interesting thing is the insurance companies have actually, my understanding, and from just anecdotal, but I think that the numbers back this up. The insurance companies are actually pretty good with cars and boats and terrible with houses. It's just interesting. I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but it is. I did. All right, so I want to get to you on Kamala, the candidate, not just Kamala, the emergency responder. So your takeaway from her interview with Brett Baer and where you feel the race is?
Well, I think first of all, I put the over/under at her mentioning the words opportunity economy at 3, and I think she actually only mentioned it once, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it's a failure on that end, right? You've got to get that phrase opportunity economy in there at least half a dozen times in a Kamala speech, right? She also only got the transnational gangs thing in there once. She usually at least mentions that 2 or 3 times. So she struggled to get her talking points in, didn't she? I mean, Brett was very good at interrupting her. He had basically zero tolerance for her filibustering or refusing to answer the question. It was enjoyable. It was very enjoyable to watch, I have to say. Thrilling.
Yeah, no, I mean it's the first time that she has really been pressed in a professional way, but really pressed by someone.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And why did she do that? I remain shocked that she decided to appear on Fox News.
Well, maybe she has a delusional view of her abilities. I mean, that's always a possibility with politicians, isn't it?
I think so. What I look at is the betting markets, before and after big events like that. So I looked at Polymarket, which is one of the biggest gambling markets in the race. I believe it like a day before the interview on Fox, and I believe it was Trump was at 58%. When I looked this morning, Trump was a hair short of 61%. So a lot of gamblers looked at that and put more money on Trump.
Yeah, kind of a couple of bad days. Not showing up for the Al Smith dinner, too, is not going to do her any good.
Yeah, but I think, all of this, the only danger is things are looking really good. Things are looking much more optimistic since the last time I spoke to you guys. At that time, I was terrified of a Kamala victory. Now I remain nervous, though, and I'll tell you for one major reason, and that is the lack of, the red wave that did not materialize in 2022 concerns me. And I'm wondering still, why did that not happen other than here in Florida? And we were anticipating this big victory. We deserved a huge victory, and we did not get one.
Because
that
Trump
still concerns me.
Well, because Trump wasn't on the ballot. That's why. I mean, I know everybody says abortion, but it's because Trump wasn't on the ballot, and so the base vote that you're going to have turn out in a presidential, particularly with Trump on the ballot, just didn't come out because a lot of that Trump vote is not particularly enamored with the Republican Party and the Republican Party's leadership in the House and Senate. So they're not going to die on a hill for the Republicans on the Hill, but they are for Trump, and that's the big difference.
I think you may be right. Our people have to turn out. It's close. I still think that it's close. It's about turnout. She has a lot more money, apparently a better ground game, technically, from what I've read and heard. So there's a lot of reasons for optimism, but I think some people are getting a little too optimistic and cocky about it, like it's a slam dunk. I don't think it's a slam dunk yet, to be honest with you. It's moving in the right direction, but I remain, I guess, concerned. You know what I mean? Like right now I'm thinking 70-30, but I don't know. How do you feel?
Yeah, I would call myself guardedly optimistic. But my confidence is growing.
I'm worried.
Okay.
Ever since Kamala got on the ticket, and I'll never forget when I heard Joe Biden dropped out of the race or was forced out, my heart sank, and I thought, oh, dear God. But
right.
I am, Dan, I listened to you because I'll never forget in 2016, you told me Trump's going to win. I said, there's no way. And you were right. And then in 2020, you weren't predicting. You said you weren't sure, you didn't know. And now this time around, you're saying that he's going to.
Well, I'm from the Bill Buckley school of making political predictions, which is I only predict the things I want to see happen.
Okay.
So if I'm not making a prediction, that means I think something that I don't want to see is going to happen.
Dave, you know what else concerns me is the demographic issue. We're really relying upon the male vote, and men are not quite as diligent in turning out. People have sent me data. I don't have it right in front of me about propensity of voting, and women are a little bit more diligent about voting than men, and there's more women than there are men in the country, and there's a few swing states too where it might be 53-54% of registered voters are men. I believe I have read are women. So that concerns me a little bit too. Like he can't lose by like 10 or 15 points amongst women. He's got to keep that single digit, I think. If he loses the female vote by 8%, 9%, he's going to win. If he loses it by like 12, 13% and women are turning out more than we are, then that's where it gets sketchy.
Dave Seminar, former diplomat, author of Footsteps of Federer, as well as Mad Travelers, A Tale of Wanderlust, Greed, and the Quest to Reach the Ends of the Earth. Dave, thanks for joining us. Glad you survived the hurricanes.
You guys. Thank you so much. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Paul Jenkins, owner of Bancroft Architects and Engineers, a service-disabled veteran-owned small business providing design solutions for clients, including the VA. When looking for a trusted banking partner, Bancroft was lucky to find that partner in Signature Bank in 2015. With Signature, personal service goes beyond a login and a PIN number. My staff and I have the comfort of knowing that we're dealing with real people who know our business and care about us as individuals. Signature helped finance our new state-of-the-art facility, and Bancroft looks forward to further expanding business opportunities for disabled veterans and historically disadvantaged communities.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Yes, it's that time of the week. Open Mic Friday, taking your calls. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. We'll take calls that involve concerns, criticisms, compliments, general crack pottery. We'll take it all, and we start, as we always do, with the founder of turnkey.pro, David Kolsak. David?
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I want to do some spitballing here for a little bit, so humor me. To begin with, I don't believe that this race is tight, and I do not believe that the mainstream media can do enough to convince the public that Trump and Kamala are neck and neck. So, like we've talked about before, the world needs a villain, a boogeyman, a scapegoat. These words basically mean the same thing, but some words are nicer than others. Right now, the scapegoat is Iran. The first time we ever heard Iran was trying to assassinate President Trump was right after the first attempt on his life in July. At that point, there was no evidence, and probably still isn't, that Iran had anything to do with the attempt. We all watched the ineptitude of the Secret Service, and there have been many hearings where it's clear that it was most likely an inside job, where they made Trump vulnerable at the Butler rally. Only thereafter, we began to see the CIA make the connection between Iran and the assassination attempt, not before. It sure looked like an inside job, and they are still actively trying to kill Trump. It also seems as if the media and the deep state puppets will continue to make that connection, attacking Iran and making it the focus. Any harm to Trump will be done by Iran, is what they say. The question is, why? We're down to just a few weeks before the election, and there are only two options available if you believe that this race is more like a landslide for Trump and not what the polls are telling us. You can't cheat when it's not believable. So they can either, one, cancel the election, or two, assassinate Trump. Let's face it, Kamala is a horrible candidate with internal poll numbers where she's losing in every single category compared to the 2020 election. I mean, that conversation with Brett Baer was embarrassing and amazingly embarrassing. The election simply isn't close enough to steal, so they have to go another direction. So I sure hope that there's ample protection around Trump, because there's no doubt that he's the figurehead of the America First and MAGA movement, and without him, the theory is that the movement will die. I would beg to differ on that point, but let the bad guys think what they want. There are simply too many people who are onto them and are actively awake, not to mention he's just a better candidate for the average American person. It is possible with such a fluid border that they create terrorist attacks within major cities in swing states. It's possible. They need a distraction and a unifying event. They need to make it seem like a foreign entity is behind any attack on America. And so we unite like we did in the past, like World War II and 9/11. Look at Project Bluebeam as a distraction. They need a false flag or an event to cancel the election. There has to be a villain for them to blame. Did you catch that Afghan that was arrested the other day for an election day terrorist plot? He had connections to the CIA. And what about the first shooter's connections to the CIA? His cell phone pings at their office in D.C., the empty home that was sterilized. I think it's possible that they're trying to facilitate attacks as a last resort. I certainly wouldn't put it past them. They want to blame Iran. It's also very convenient as the tensions are raised in the Middle East. Did you also see that Biden called Netanyahu and told him not to attack Iran's oil facilities as part of their retaliation for the recent bombings? Isn't Iran our enemy and wants our leading candidate for presidency to be eliminated? Why spare their economic stability and not hit them in the pocketbook, which would cripple them? That's what you would do to an enemy. So instead, spare the oil facilities. That doesn't make sense if Iran is our enemy. So you look at it, if you look at it that way, that they're painting Iran as the same way that they paint Russia, and they want to keep Trump separated from them. Did you see how everyone freaked out when they found out Trump intimated that he recently spoke with Putin? Putin holds evidence of uranium-1 and the connection to the Clintons. Who else holds evidence of treason? Iran and the Iran deal, where Obama sent plane loads of cash. So both Iran and Russia have the goods, and if Trump wins, the jig is up for sure. Another reason to make Iran the boogeyman is they want to be part of BRICS, and they want to leave our global financial system. In addition to that, they want to get rid of the CIA and CIA control of their country. So Iran may be painted as the scapegoat, but it's important to note that the Iranian people have never been our enemy. Our real enemies are within our own government, and they're being used by their masters to control these countries and prevent Trump from winning the election, just like they've done before. So these last few weeks before the election are going to be filled with twists and turns where we're inevitably going to say, I didn't see that coming. So keep your wits about you and stay frosty. Just about anything can happen at this point. And with the betting line on Trump at 58%, they're going to get desperate. So have a great weekend, guys.
Okay. Corey in Lake Mills, Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. I'd like to share a good morning to my family and friends across the world. And I'd like to share my pronouns with the team. I prefer to go with Lord of Beverage and Earl of Sandwich.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Lord of Beverage and Earl of Sandwich from Lake Mills, Wisconsin. David in Winnetka.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Just a couple tidbits here. Firstly, I was just wondering, every time that Amy says this, brought to you by Turnkey Pro Answer Line, I was just wondering how much cash she gets kicked for saying that.
Double goose eggs.
Oh, shame on them. Team Hockford, that guy's got to change his team to Team Hawk Tua. His business will just flood. And
yeah, okay.
And lastly, the prostitution thing, legalizing the prostitution and the human trafficking and blah blah blah. It truly should be government regulated, and it'd be so much safer for everybody, for the girls, for the customers.
You want to legalize prostitution?
It just makes sense. I mean, it should be the only thing that's government regulated, I believe.
No, because there's a victim in that always.
Well, yeah, because what you think it eliminates human trafficking?
Well,
just like drug legalization eliminates drug trafficking?
It didn't do that.
Yeah, good point.
Well,
I would just think it would be safer for everyone.
I don't agree.
Thanks for the call, David. Well,
do not agree.
Well, first of all, I mean, it sort of concedes an underlying point that's a problem, right? I mean, there's a lot of things you can make safer for people, but do you want to give the stamp of societal approval? I mean, you want to take it just from a utilitarian perspective. Is there any sort of moral qualms you have about it and institutionalizing that, treating it as a legitimate business? The sort of the big questions before you get to sort of just the implementation and the management of the sector.
And of
Bob.
course, he talked about that real quick because discussed that because 157 people were arrested for human trafficking, including a handful of illegals and some people that worked at Disney World.
A couple of handfuls of people here illegally.
But then they, and Sheriff Judd, who's there, he doesn't hold anything back. Whatever he thinks, he says in a very thoughtful but stern manner. And he's, Florida's sheriff. He sells his own hats that he's making. He's got his own brand. But they were doing a flashback of his greatest moments, and this just made me laugh.
Here's a message. Mind your business. Don't commit crime. Leave people alone. You got any other questions?
I do. President Trump tested positive for COVID-19. Why don't you or any of your staff in this building wear masks?
I'm not going to answer that question. You have any other questions you want me to not answer?
That's the only question I have for you, Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of these. I mean, Grady Judd is got a lot of instant classics. This was explaining to the press corps the difference between a peaceful protest and a riot, using pictures.
Peaceful protest, we encourage, and more riot. We can tell the difference. And I'll guarantee you that you'll be able to tell the difference if you come here and riot. If you come here and protest peacefully, we encourage that.
Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, we're going to get, before I can make my comment, we're going to get Mr. Johnson, your mayor over there, to do a visit over there in Polk County and talk to Mr. Judd about policing.
Mm-hmm.
But under Mrs. Harrison Biden, child trafficking has tripled, and they should take a model over Giorgia Meloni, the Italian prime minister, the way she directed that plane of Albanians away from their country, because it takes 10 years to be a citizen over there in Italy.
Yes, thanks for the call, Eduardo. Yeah, Meloni is striking back at EU immigration policy. She also took out specifically after Emmanuel Macron in a great rant, but I only saw it in Italian with subtitles, so it doesn't really work for radio. Otherwise, I would have brought it to you. But look at it online. She's been kicking some tail in the EU on this topic. Although she was a little slow out of the gate. She sort of ran on this issue as a celebrity. Then she was a little taken, I think, by her newfound position as head of state and the august body that is the EU. And now she's sort of getting back to that revolt that she ran on when she ran for the presidency there. So yeah, but the rant, the invective she directed at Macron was particularly enjoyable. Robert and Lyle.
Yeah, hi. Boy, you guys do a great job. Thank you so much for all the things and people you have on. I just wanted to comment that on that globalism, basically with that one gentleman from England about the trans and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, this is true. This goes back over 50 years. I can remember when they were keeping male prisoners and stuff like that. However, that was not my comment. This World Health Organization and the UN, if they give the sovereignty power from the United States, that could bring about the close of many things in our Constitution, and that could be your arms, your ability to speech and everything else. And I had one other comment on Kamala Harris. She's talking about Trump using the military. Well, we're behind the eight ball already because they've used the FBI, the DOJ, and a whole bunch of other organizations to come against the citizens of the United States. That's my comment.
Thanks for the call, Robert. There was this a good flashback, speaking of flashbacks, of Trump that was making the rounds this week. Just a reminder in terms of the sort of presence you want on the international stage, dealing with enemies and allies alike. So this was Trump dressing down the power structure of NATO during his term as president, talking about Germany's dealings with Putin, Germany buying gas from Russia, and how that deal should never have been consummated, as well as all the NATO countries paying their fair share, to borrow a favorite phrase of the left, when it comes to financing the collective security in the West.
It's very sad when Germany makes a massive oil and gas deal with Russia, where you're supposed to be guarding against Russia, and Germany goes out and pays billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. So we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting all of these countries. And then numerous of the countries go out and make a pipeline deal with Russia, where they're paying billions of dollars into the coffers of Russia. So we're supposed to protect you against Russia, but they're paying billions of dollars to Russia, and I think that's very inappropriate. And the former chancellor of Germany is the head of the pipeline company that's supplying the gas. Ultimately, Germany will have almost 70% of their country controlled by Russia with natural gas. So you tell me, is that appropriate? I mean, I've been complaining about this from the time I got in. It should have never been allowed to have happened. But Germany is totally controlled by Russia because they were getting from 60 to 70% of their energy from Russia and a new pipeline. And you tell me if that's appropriate, because I think it's not. And I think it's a very bad thing for NATO, and I don't think it should have happened. And I think we have to talk to Germany about it. On top of that, Germany is just paying a little bit over 1%, whereas the United States, in actual numbers, is paying 4.2% of a much larger GDP. So I think that's inappropriate also. You know, we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting everybody, and yet we're paying a lot of money to protect. Now, this has been going on for decades. This has been brought up by other presidents, but other presidents never did anything about it because I don't think they understood it or they just didn't want to get involved. But I have to bring it up because I think it's very unfair to our country. It's very unfair to our taxpayer. And I think that these countries have to step it up, not over a 10-year period. They have to step it up immediately. Germany is a rich country. They talk about they're going to increase it a tiny bit by 2030. Well, they could increase it immediately tomorrow and have no problem. I don't think it's fair to the United States. So we're going to have to do something because we're not going to put up with it. We can't put up with it, and it's inappropriate.
Doesn't sound like much of a Putin stooge there, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Interesting. Prime Minister from Ogden Dunes, Indiana.
The peripatetic Dan Proft, thank you for taking this wonderful call. I was eating Miss Dell's same breakfast, that sugary cure for hangovers. Amy, what do I eat for breakfast every day?
Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
Lucky Charms, Dan Proft. They're magically delicious. So are your listeners starting to embrace the next 5 years as joyriders on the Kamala train? Elon says it's a locomotive with multiple tracks leading from nowhere to nothing. And who do I talk to about placing an ad on your website? Because we're launching a line of fashion-forward rubber maternity pants for men and boys. And you know they have to be liquid resistant for when the man's water breaks. But then, true or false, you have a dog named Hayek who authored The Road to Serfdom. And so with Halloween coming up, I have the name for your ghost-written autobiography, Dan. Carjacked on the Road to Serfdom.
It's not bad.
We on the left are panicking, it's true, so I'm told I have to be on the attack with you people. So I cannot believe you two diversity hire debutantes criticized that marvelous and in-depth interview by the deep state's custodian of morals, Howard Stern. Unlike that grisly Brett Baer, who incidentally was not bare but fully clothed, Howard Stern was marvelous, hard-hitting interview, pro-FBI, pro-CIA, pro-FCC. Dan, unlike Stern, you suffer from xenophobia, and Amy from toxic masculinity. So you've switched places with Stern. You guys are now the Triple X. And speaking of the Triple X and why Dan Proft refuses to get married, the talk in all of L.A. is after the 33 years of blissful marriage and 6 kids, Governor Lizzo's older brother was kicked out of his 50,000 square foot, $100 million mansion by his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But then she gets a letter saying, "Not so fast, sister. That was during your marital bliss. You never actually owned the house, and the trusted Mrs. Pritzker, please, vamonos. And don't you dare take the silverware and the Hyatt linens and the fluffy Mike Lindell pillows. It's not yours. It all belongs to the trust." Meanwhile, out of the limelight, poor Governor J.B. leads a marginalized, closeted life. Think Liberace, Rock Hudson. Claimed he's one in a lonely army of secretly overweight. Now, I won't say his girth is making him clumsy, but have you guys ever dropped your phone into the toilet?
Yes.
his people quickly put the phone in a bag of rice. Have you guys ever dropped a bag of rice in the toilet? I got a quick song for you, and I'm done. Somewhere past the election, certified. How I hope that the votes will not mean he just squeaked by. This is from Elon Musk. Somewhere past the election, vote rock slide. I dare dream she concedes. No uproar, we're unified. It's a dream, ladies and gentlemen. It's an Irish dream.
Thank you, PM. All right. That was certainly a mixed bag. Breaking news here. Did you see this come over the transom?
What?
Jay Cutler got arrested for a DUI and gun possession in Franklin, Tennessee.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, we can pray for him. That's, I mean, he's going through a divorce and has 3 kids.
Is he still going through that divorce?
I mean...
How long does that divorce take?
Well, divorces take a long time, especially if you have children. You have to do your
damn
parenting
props,
agreement
single.
first,
Right.
and then you got to, break up the assets, and then you got to talk about child support, and does she want part of his 401k plan? I mean, it's a lot to do.
Yeah. The voice of experience, I got it. I did want to respond to the concerns of the Irish PM there. The hysteria in lieu of like being able to, they do some damage control for Kamala with that interview with Drip Air, but in lieu of sort of being able to address things on the merits, you just have the end of times sort of admonitions coming now. We're at this stage of the campaign. Speaking of indications of desperation. And don't take my word for it. Doug Schoen, who's a Democrat pollster, had this to say about the blue wall on Laura Ingram's show.
Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania is eroding for the Democrats. There is a level of disorganization on the ground and incoherence vis-a-vis the messaging that is clear. And what I'm picking up is that the Harris campaign really doesn't have a closing message or strategy, as we, I think, saw in Brett Baer's interview with Kamala Harris today.
Yeah, she lacks a topic sentence, too. So in lieu of having one, you have the hysteria. I mean, she sort of did that in Wisconsin, like screaming, never again, Trump in the Oval Office. And that's sort of what they seem to be maybe not settling in with, but trial ballooning right now. Listen to this sort of regular on CNN, Anand Giridharadas talking about what life will be like if Trump is reinstalled.
And what is at stake now is you possibly not being able to do all those things you've done all your life, not be able to chase your dreams, not be able to make your plans. Because what works in the background is not going to be working in the background in a Trump administration. Politics, government, persecution would become your life. This would become the full drama of our country. That's what happens in these countries that go in that illiberal, unconstitutional direction. And what they are proposing is not just, an abstraction of fascism. It is a kind of political project where politics would eat your dreams, eat your plans. And I don't think most Americans want that.
Politics will eat your dreams and become your life if Trump is reelected.
Eating people.
Uh-huh. Jordan Antioch.
Good morning. So to go back to what you were discussing earlier, the topic of the relief down south, you brought up the Baptist Church, and on top of that, you have these guys, the Cajun Navy, you have other faith-based organizations, you have just, regular citizens who've lost everything, helping other citizens who've lost everything. The one thing you never see, you never hear through any of this, where's BLM? Where's Antifa? Where's the LGBTQ movement? All these organizations that have all this money and all these people that they can move around the country at a moment's notice to go and protest something, yet they can't get a single person down there to help aid in any kind of relief. And why is that? Because they're takers. They're just takers. They don't produce anything. All they do is consume. And to a larger point, when we were talking about the government and FEMA and their reaction, the government does every single thing wrong. And I think like this needs to be brought to light. I know it is on these stations and stuff like that, but people need to realize through private organizations, that money is so much better used, and it goes even deeper. I mean, you're talking government roads, construction projects, everything. Everything is done better through competition and through private markets and that thing. And I don't know what it would take. I mean, obviously, we're trying to get there, right? But I just hope people realize that the one caller said you have to be prepared and be your own first responder, and I think we need to get back to that. And then another point, Dan, and it's a question I've been wanting to ask you for a long time. I just want to get your opinion and where you think we're at on this. With all the evidence, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, all these edited interviews where they edit it and then they put it out, and it's a campaign. It's a campaign presentation or an ad. They won't release transcripts. They know that they've been caught. We know that they've edited. We know that they've shortened. We know that they've cut. We know that they've given her answers prior to. With all of that, and I know it's a heavy lift, but there are people in place that could do this if we get the right administration in this election. What are the chances, or what is the possibility of looking into that and finding these people guilty of FEC in-kind contribution and campaign violations?
No, I don't think so. Thanks for the call, Jordan. No, I don't think so. I mean, if they want to edit the content and they're content producers, propagandists, that's still content. I don't want to get into that business. No. They're editing. Even their editing, you can't make her look good. And the fact that their interviews are edited, and for example, Brett Baer's was not. I mean, that is for the public to decide. That is all out in the public domain for consumption for interested parties who want to understand what's happening and want to make judgments about who's operating on the level and who isn't. This is not for federal law enforcement or federal bureaucratic oversight. No. We got way too many people that are trying to push us down this road towards, essentially infringement upon First Amendment rights, and we need to start hightailing it in the other direction consistently. George in Naperville.
Yeah, Dan, I think Trump missed an opportunity in New York last night. He could have said, I spoke to my friends in the FBI, and Kamala will be in attendance after the festivities for the Latin Mass.
Hi-oh. Thanks for the call, George. Some of Trump's better offerings last night at the Al Smith dinner.
There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris? Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me.
Great shot across the bow of the male impersonators, like Dougie. Also, this one I liked too, that Schumer should perk up a little bit because there's still a chance for him.
Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? He looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, I just love.
I like that. I like this one about, he got a couple in on Field Marshal Tim, too, which are pretty good if you haven't heard them.
But unfortunately, Governor Walz isn't here himself, but don't worry, he'll say that he was. He said he'll say it. I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz.
And he's laughing while he's... This is Trump at his finest. That's why I love...
Very good.
And I loved when he was with Hillary in 2016. I mean, it's at one point in time that got uncomfortable, but it was funny. They laughed. She laughed at his jokes. He laughed at her jokes. I just... It says a lot about her character that she missed that event last night. She doesn't care about you. She cares about herself.
Dawn in Naperville.
One of my favorite verses is when God says, the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming. That's Psalm 33. But anyway, I wanted to just add to the conversation in regards to inheritance. I do think that obviously there is a value to a tangible inheritance that we leave to our children, but I think the most valuable one, the one that when we go before God and have to give an account to our life for the gifts that we've been given. I think the most important thing is that we taught our children how to love Him and how to love one another, and how to see people and circumstances through Him. I think that's the most important. I think you're doing an amazing job, Amy. I think maybe, you don't have a lot to give financially, but I think that from what I hear, you've done an amazing job with your boys, and kudos to you. Don't care what anybody else says. That's the most important thing, is what we give to our children. You're welcome.
Made my weekend.
Well, thank you, Dawn. Appreciate that.
Play catch?
Yeah, a little bit. You and Dawn need some quality time.
Yes.
David in Lansing.
Good morning. Conservatives out there, instead of going to a Hollywood movie and giving Democrats money, I recommend stay home and check out your sample ballot. You can go, I think it's Ballotpedia is one of them. You can go check out your sample ballot, vet your candidates before you go vote. That way you know who you're going to vote for before you enter the polling place and get surrounded by Democrats who are going to try to steal your ballot and confuse you and all that stuff. So that's my recommendation. Great show, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, David. Rich, Indian Head Park.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. What I wanted to say is, Harris is out there campaigning, and she's yelling that Trump should stop gaslighting the American people. This is coming from the queen of gaslighting. That she talks about the economy's good, the border is secure. If there was an award for a joke of the year, she'd win it hands down. Thanks. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thanks,
too,
Rich.
I love Rich.
Chuck and Delavan.
Hey, thanks, Rich, there, for mentioning my garage band, Queen of Gaslighting. I want to take this time to apologize to everybody that I said to come up here for the Oktoberfest that had to drive around for a half hour to find a parking spot, and then a half hour to get a brat, and then a half hour to get a beer. And,
you're just too damn popular, Chuck. They come from all over to see you.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was packed. And then I got like 100 people that got my number, and they I will announce when the trees turn yellow on Snake Road. It's not right now, so please, everybody, stop texting me.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You guys have a nice weekend. There's nothing going on up here.
Dan's been bated breath about the trees turning yellow on what road?
Snake Road.
Snake
of course,
Road.
Snake Road. Yeah, everybody knows that. Yeah. All right, be patient.
Yeah.
Everybody out there, be patient about the trees, leaf turning their colors on Snake Road. Please be patient. Please. Give Chuck some room to breathe out there. All right. Thanks, Chuck. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, everyone who participated, as always. Thanks. Of course, we couldn't do without Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. Now have yourselves a great weekend. Into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
A bank